We are streaming live video on the X platform and on YouTube at Mike Gill Show. What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Hennings producing today's show. You out there. Well, we got some moves. We got some stuff happening, a little moving and shaking happening. Howie's season gets underway. He finally makes a move, and it's a very interesting move. But we got chaos in the NFL. We got chaos. We're going to go over the chaos that happened yesterday and then was exemplified today by a move by the Baltimore Ravens when they backed out of the trade for Max Crosby and then signed Trey Hendrickson. Wow, the gall of that team. You know, you remember last year they made a trade with the Eagles, Jair Alexander, and they made it seem like everything was okay. And then poof, Alexander decides he wants to retire. These Baltimore Ravens, yeah, they are to be questioned. But it has turned the NFL offseason on its head. We're here to talk about it. It's the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. How's everybody doing out there? Hopefully a good day. Nice day outside, I think, anyway. I've been really locked into the Twitter X here, the old Twitter machine, and it's got a whole heck of a lot happening here. It happened last night, though. The Eagles finally entered free agency, and they do it with a move that, you know, I'm no Howie hater, never have been. I got to shake his hand and say, Howie, good job. Yesterday on the show, the one guy I said I would be interested in free agency was Rick Wallen, and here we go. And he's an Eagle. And I didn't think it was possible. Why? I didn't think he's going to take a one-year deal. And somehow Wallen takes a one-year deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know how Howie Roseman convinced him to take a one-year deal. I don't know how Wallen gets a one-year deal. This is a guy who's in his prime, Super Bowl champion with the Seahawks, plays on that defense, really good man corner, and you get a team-friendly deal. Like Howie Roseman. How do you get this done? This is a guy who in the last couple of years, not last year as much, but like the year before and the year before that, Wallen had a great rookie year. He came out of nowhere and had this great rookie year. He was a later draft pick and was like, wow, they found this guy. And after his rookie year, he kind of, took a little bit of a step back. And then he had been in the trade conversations. And I think he'd been in the trade conversations more because he's a knucklehead than his play on the field. He's still a damn good player. And he's big, and he's physical, 6'4", 210, and he's a man corner. He's exactly what the Philadelphia Eagles need across. I mean, they got probably the most dominating secondary in the NFL right now. Wallen, Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. I don't know that you're going to come up with a trio better than those three guys. Now, the one thing that drives you nuts about Wallen is you remember the NFC Championship game. He's the knucklehead that got the penalty in that game, for taunting on the side. And I thought that was a weak penalty. But there have been a lot of reports out of Seattle that the Seahawks were ready to move on from this guy because of that. Here's the one thing about that. I trust the Eagles will squash that nip that in the bud immediately. They generally don't have problems with these guys, and when they do, they get rid of them. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I'm talking to you. Now, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson apparently would like to come back for a three-peat. But to get Wallen in here on a one-year, I think it's a $12 million deal with a chance to make $15 million. He goes with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, and all of a sudden, you're looking at that secondary, and I tweeted this out last night, and we'll start here. I think with this signing right now, the Philadelphia Eagles defense will be better this year than last year. That's my takeaway. Now, Wallen, as I said, very good player, just a little bit of a knucklehead. He might cost you the 15-yard penalty every now and then. That being said, I think the Philadelphia Eagles will make sure that they are strongly going to tell him that cannot happen here. Now, that doesn't mean it will happen. But Woolen on the field, he's certainly better. I think you can make an argument that Woolen might even be a better fit than Darius Slay was as the second corner on this team.
100%.
So we talked all about it the first 2 days. Howie has not been involved in free agency. Why? He's not going to give you a multiple-year deal. He'll give you the one-year deal. Unless you're a star player, unless you're a stud, unless you are the top player at your position, he'll give those guys multiple-year deals. So he'll make the big splash. But if he's making the secondary splash, you are essentially going to get a one-year deal from us. And that is what happened here. He got a one-year deal. I don't know how he did it, but kudos to Howie Roseman. And I think right now, Woolen, Mitchell, and DeJean gives the Eagles a better secondary right now, obviously, than last year. They had all sorts of problems on the other side. But I might be more intrigued by this secondary than the one they had a couple of years ago. Now, they got to replace the safety position. Here's the caveat. You got Campbell and Woolen. Are they better than Dean and Adoree Jackson? I think Campbell and Dean, that's kind of a wash, right? We think Campbell and Dean are pretty close. Dean might be slightly better. You might like Campbell's upside. Woolen is better than Adoree Jackson is. Now, do we trust Howie Roseman that he will find an upgrade to Reed Blankenship? And how do they get a comparable option to replace Jalen Phillips? That's where we are right now.
To me, Mike, I think one of the biggest takeaways from the signing of Woolen is this stat. So if you take the regular season and postseason, okay, so it's players played in the regular season and playoffs last year, who allowed the fewest yards per coverage snap allowed. Now, for those who don't know, coverage snap is passing play. So literally every time the other team passed, Riq Woolen is tied for the fewest yards allowed per snap with Patrick Surtain II. You know who's right behind him? Is Quinyon Mitchell. Riq Woolen has allowed 0.7 yards per coverage snap. Quinyon Mitchell, 0.8.
Listen, he is that good.
He's that guy.
He has the off-the-field stuff. I don't want to say off-the-field stuff. It's more on-the-field, taunting penalties.
He's a bit immature.
Yes. So he does have that comes with him a little bit. But he is that good. He is that good. Somebody messaging on the X platform, he's not that good. He led the league in taunting penalties. Hey, idiot. They are two separate things here, right? You can be that good and have the taunting penalties. You can say he's really good, but he does have the immaturity stuff. That doesn't mean he's not a good player.
Hey, listen, the Chicago Bulls still wanted Dennis Rodman, okay?
Right. That's a good comp. He's a Rodman. He's that good, but he does have some other issues.
He's elite at certain things. And then there are
I don't
other
understand
things.
how Woolen took a one-year deal to come here.
Well, the report that I saw late last night was that basically the Seahawks lowballed him because they didn't want him back.
Right, but nobody else out there said, I'll take this guy for a one-year deal. Like, how do the Eagles get him and convince him to take a one-year deal?
I think they convinced him by saying, we're the best team that wants you.
Maybe the best team that won it, but did they offer the most money? And maybe Philadelphia did. Maybe they said, look, we'll give you a one-year deal for $15 million. And maybe somebody else says, hey, we'll give you $7 million, we'll give you $8 million.
Right, maybe someone else offered him, 3 years, $27 million. I'm sorry, not a random number.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know what, I can get $14 million for 1 year for Philadelphia. Go out there, ball out, prove myself, hit the market again.
Love that move. Like I said yesterday, if there's one guy, when we went through the list of the top 25 guys, I said Woolen would be the one guy that if they could get him, because remember we were talking about, is there a free agent that if they signed him that you would say, okay, I like that move? And I went through the top 25 guys, and I was like, the only guy maybe would be if you can get Woolen. I just don't see that happening, and they end up getting that done. So that's one. Two, the tight end situation, okay? They brought back Grant Calcaterra, okay? I believe Grant Calcaterra is going to be your tight end this year.
Oh, boy.
And it's not a bad thing. You're saying, oh, boy. Here's my thought. So the first move they made last night was Johnny Munt, who is a blocking tight end, Nobody knows who this guy is, obviously. He's just a guy who blocks. But
He's a grunt.
you need that guy.
Right.
The Eagles lacked that guy majorly in their offense, a blocking tight end, a guy who's, hey, I am going to pin the linebacker, the edge guy down. And he's a very good primary blocking tight end. That was the role they were trying to use Grant Calcaterra in the past, and he was not that guy.
It's also part of the reason why Cameron Latu got so much run last year, because they needed somebody to go out there and block.
Yeah, but the problem was they weren't using Latu as the blocking tight end, and everybody kept asking, why wouldn't you change the tight end in blocking situations? Why do you keep using Grant Calcaterra in that role? Latu they were using as a fullback. Now, Calcaterra, he was drafted as a pass catcher.
Yes.
He's never really been able to show that role because he's always been behind Goddard, who's a very good receiving tight end. Now, when Goddard has been out here and there, Calcaterra has, been okay. But I think the Eagles say, look, for what we paid Calcaterra and Johnny Munt, the two of them, one could be the pass-catching tight end, the other guy could be the blocking tight end, and that'll save us a lot of money at the tight end position. Because I think the Eagles want to see Calcaterra be a primary receiver as opposed to the role that they've been using him the last couple of years. Because when they drafted him, now remember, a couple of years ago, when Goddard got hurt, he did have 24 catches for 300 yards and was a pretty good pass catching. He has been a decent catcher of the football. But he just never gets an opportunity because he's behind Goddard, so he just isn't really featured in that role. But I think the Eagles see enough of him in practice to say, you know what are they paying him? $2 million? And the other guy, probably similar.
Probably less.
So for $4 to $5 million, we get two tight ends instead of paying Goddard what we're going to pay him. Now, that doesn't mean they don't like Goddard. That doesn't mean Goddard stinks. It means we have to spend money elsewhere. I think Calcaterra can catch the ball, run after the catch, and the other guy can block. Don't be surprised if that's your tight end duo. And then they draft a guy. You draft a guy, develop him to be the next guy. Calcaterra keeps the seat warm. The other guy takes that role over. That's my takeaway on that.
And I think that's the real key, is that they're going to draft somebody. Again, whether that's Eli Stowers of Vanderbilt, whether it's what's his name from Ohio State, whoever it is, they're going to draft somebody, and that guy is going to be the future. Because you can't tell me Calcaterra is the future at this point. Because
no, I don't think they think he's the future. I think he can play
the now,
right now, and catch the ball. Can you catch the ball and just be a receiving tight end and Munt be the blocking tight end? And I think they feel like for half a season or a year, he probably is capable of being that guy.
And I think that's fair. I think that's definitely fair, and I totally understand that. I just wasn't excited about it because the one issue with Calcaterra has been injuries. He has a very, very, very lengthy injury history between college and the NFL. It's part of the reason why he bounced. So, I really hope they draft the guy, because there wouldn't be any surprise for me, at least, if Calcaterra misses 3 to 4 games next year.
Well, and listen, Calcaterra had injury issues coming into the league.
That's what I said, yeah.
Yeah, he had the
That's why he bounced around.
He had, quote-unquote, retired from college football, and then he came back.
Right, because of the concussions.
Yeah. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. The White Horse RV text board is open, as always. My friends at White Horse RV, check them out, of course, in Galloway and in Williamstown, and you could be a part of the show on the White Horse RV text board. Mike, Calcaterra as tight end 1. Did you start drinking early today? I figured some of those things would be coming in. Listen, Calcaterra is a guy that had a reputation of being a pass catcher. When was he given the opportunity to do that here? I'll hang up and listen. He's never been given the opportunity to do that here. Now, he's been given that opportunity a little bit in the time that Dallas Goedert has been hurt, which isn't been, which is here and there. But in the games where Goddard is out, Grant Calcaterra, it's not like he's had these great games, but 4 for 67, 3 for 58, 5 for 30. He's played a couple of games where he's had the opportunity to play. He's made the most of those opportunities. And I think the Eagles, listen to the guy who texted in, you can't spend $10 to $15 million on every single guy. So if the Eagles, who see Calcaterra in practice every single day, do they think that he can run routes and catch the ball? Of course they do. Calcaterra came here as a fourth-round pick, and his background was as a pass catcher, not as a blocker. So, to that guy texting in, tight end 1, if you look at him as a blocking tight end, he stinks. If you look at him as a receiving tight end, jury's out. And I think the Eagles think that Calcaterra could be a good pass-catching tight end if that was his role. It's never been his role. Chris in Delaware. Woolen isn't that good in zone and is a sucker for the double moves. Fangio plays mostly zone. There's a reason he wasn't a top quarter being sought out. No, that's incorrect. He is very good in man, and you're going to see a situation where, and you're right, he's not great in zone, but you're going to see a situation where you're going to have Quignon on one side, Woolen on the other side, and those guys will be a great tandem. Those guys fit. I think the Eagles played man 55% of the time last year they talked about, and Woolen, what was the number you gave just a couple of minutes ago?
So he is tied for the fewest yards per allowed per coverage snap. But basically, so every time the team goes back to pass, the opponent, he is tied with Patrick Surtain II for fewest yards allowed, 0.7, right ahead of Quignon Mitchell at 0.8.
Yeah, I look, the Woolen move to me is, I don't know how they were able to get him here on a one-year deal. I think to me, across from Quignon Mitchell now, you have two guys where you are not all that thrilled about throwing the ball to them. Right? I mean, you are looking around and saying, we got two big-time corners on the outside. Now, Woolen, who has been on the trade block a lot, and I think a lot of that has to do more with his immaturity than his play on the field. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Some more text board questions and comments coming in here. We got a lot happening on the text board. Sorry. I didn't say pay every position 10 to 15. Just Calcaterra as Z1 has zero chance in hell of happening. Well, we'll see. If you're not paying every position 10 to 15 million, where are you getting a tight end, a starting level tight end? And give me a name. Give me a guy that you think is going to come here to be a starting tight end for less than 10 to 15 million.
Yeah, I think part of the problem people are looking is that
I think people are looking. By the way, I think people are looking at Calcaterra as the player he's been here and saying he sucked.
Well, I think it's also people love the new thing, right?
They like the new thing, but I don't think that this guy is saying. I think he's judging Calcaterra based on what he's done here, which is nothing. And then you're saying, well, he hasn't done anything in here for 4 years. You're going to make him the number one tight end? I think the Eagles have said, this guy's been here for 4 years, and we like what we've seen from him. We just haven't been able to give him an opportunity. Mm-hmm. For $2 million, we think this guy can catch 40 balls for 500 yards. That's all we're really asking from the tight end position. Like, I think everybody just assumes they want some Pro Bowler or All-Pro or a level of Dallas Goedert. And they're saying, we have Goddard. We've had Calcaterra here for 4 years. We've seen him in practice every day. We know that if given the opportunity, he can do more with the opportunity. He just hasn't got the snaps. So I'd ask that guy, are you judging him based off the blocking that he has done here? Because if that's the case, he's been an F-.
Yeah, he's horrible.
But the Eagles are saying we don't want him to be a blocking tight end. We'd rather him be the receiving tight end. Why? We just signed a blocking tight end in Johnny Munt, a guy who knows he's a blocking tight end. That's all he's known for. I'm going to come here, I'm going to do the grunt work, and Calcaterra, you go that route. So I'm telling you, you don't just bring Calcaterra back because you think he's nice. Hey, you're a nice guy. Let's bring him back. No, I think they think he can catch the ball and be a very good receiving tight end in this league and don't have to pay him all that much. That's the key. We don't have to pay you all that much. Matt and Cape May. Mike, do you think the Eagles have long-term plans to sign Woolen if he has a good season on a one-year deal? Oh, Matt, I mean, and that's an interesting question because he'll be a free agent again next year when you have to pay all these other guys. Is he so good and such a good fit that they have to keep him on board? That's a tough one. So that's why I'm surprised that they're able to convince him to take a one-year deal because it's going to be hard to re-sign some of these guys.
Yeah,
609-403-0973 on the
White Horse
RV text board.
Yeah.
I'm just reading some of the trade options. I got a Cole Kmet trade. Go figure. I got news for you. They're not trading for Cole Kmet or Michael Mayer. Give me somebody different. Those two guys are not getting traded here. You've given me Cole Kmet and Michael Mayer's name for 3 years now, and they're not getting traded here. I don't know how many times I have to tell you those guys are not getting traded here. I've told you for 5 years they're not getting anybody in these trades. You got to give me some new names. If I see a name that I like, I'll let you know. But Kmet's not happening, and neither is Mayer. Give me a different tight end. Somebody different. Anybody else got some names? What do you got, Josh? You got some better names for me.
Well, there's always different names out there. It's just a question of, one, are those guys even interested in Philadelphia? You know, I know fans out there might have liked a guy like David Njoku as a guy. The problem with him is he's always injured, number one. And number two, I'm not sure he wants to come to Philadelphia. He's a guy originally from Florida. He's probably a guy who maybe is eyeing up going to maybe a warmer weather climate after spending the last, 5-6 years in Cleveland.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, and somebody, the guy followed up with a text. He says, I'd rather have a draft pick or Goddard back. Well, if you're bringing Goddard back, it goes back to he wants more than $10 million. I'd rather have Goddard back, too. If you're asking me, do I want Goddard or Calcaterra? I'd rather Goddard.
Yeah.
But I don't want to pay him $10 to $12 to $15 million.
Which is probably what he's going to get.
Which is what he's going to get. Now, he says, I'd rather have a draft pick. I said they will probably draft a guy, start the year with Calcaterra, and as the other guy gets more comfortable, probably takes over. But I think the Eagles are willing to start Calcaterra for half the season at $2 million. I don't even know what they paid Calcaterra.
I haven't seen a number, actually.
It's probably less than $2 million. And he said, and this is where, again, I can't take this guy's credibility at all. He says, I'd rather have a draft pick or Goddard back than watch a guy who can't block. Well, they're not asking him to block anymore. That's the whole point. They signed a guy to be the second tight end, to be the blocking tight end. Now they're asking Calcaterra to be the pass-catching tight end. So they're not going to ask him to block. And he has shown the pass-catch ability. I don't know what you're watching, but that's the one thing that Calcaterra has shown that he can do, is he'll catch the football. He just has not been given any opportunity to do so. I think Calcaterra has done a good job catching the ball. It's just that he's never asked to really be a part of the offense. So I disagree with that guy 100%. And listen, would I rather Goddard back? Yes, I would. But are they going to pay him 10? He got paid $10 million last year, Goddard. Is he going to take less than that? No. So do you want to pay Goddard $12 million to come back? Now you say, it's not my money. What do I care? Well, now you can't spend to go get a safety and an edge rusher. Or do you go with Calcaterra, draft a guy, and Johnny Mundit, who's the blocking tight end? Calcaterra is the receiving tight end. Hey, I'm not telling you it's what I want. I'm just reading the tea leaves here. 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. McGarry's on the way. Nuggets early. Q Myers. What's going on with Max Crosby? He'll tell us coming up at 4:30. Mosher's got football at 4. Philly's off today. Sixers won without Maxey last night, but the news on Maxey, not good. Maxey out at least 3 more weeks with this tendon problem in his finger. Oof. I got a theory on what could happen with the Sixers as well. More Sports Bash coming up. 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video streaming on the X platform and on YouTube. And don't forget, you can enter to win a trip to see the Phillies play in Baltimore against the Orioles, and you can win bonus chances if you're watching the show on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. Check it out right now. Go to youtube.com, search 973 ESPN. All right, 232 Sports Best Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. I want to tell you about my friends at Kia Acura of Atlantic City. Right now, you can get a new Acura 2026 Acura Integra, 36-month lease for just $219 a month. $219 in this economy? Holy mackerel, it's an Acura. Check out this deal before it expires on March 31st. Gives you to the end of the month. Get to Acura, Kia Acura on Tilton Road in Egg Harbor Township. The small but friendly dealer online. Check out the inventory at KiaAcuraOfAtlanticCity.com. March Madness last night at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City. Siena moves on. By the way, you know what happens when you win the MAC tournament? Usually a player or a coach, they end up moving on. Well, last night, Jerry McNamara, the head coach of Siena, played at Syracuse. What happened today? Syracuse fired their head coach, Adrian Autry. Cue Jerry McNamara to Syracuse next year. I would imagine that will be what's next for Jerry McNamara, getting Siena to the NCAA tournament for the first time, I think I said in 16 years for Siena. They beat Merrimack last night at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City. I watched a lot of that game. I was watching the Sixer game last night. I was watching Team USA as well. That whole situation, we got to get into that. I mean, this couldn't have happened, right? They lost to Italy in baseball. How did this occur? It was one of the more bizarre stories. It was a wild night last night. The Max Crosby thing happens. Bam Adebayo scored 83 points, and Team USA lost to Italy. Now, I'm not a big WBC guy. You know, the rules are wonky, but I got to imagine that, well, this whole Mark DeRosa thing is bizarre. I want to get McGarry's take on it because I know you're not a big WBC guy either. But this game last night was just a bonkers situation. You're down 8-0 against a bunch of pizza makers, and the next thing you know, you're basically down to where you need Aaron Nola today to help you to advance to the next round. Now, there's a lot of talk here that Mark DeRosa, the manager, people are suggesting that he didn't know the rules about them not being in the quarterfinal round. I can't imagine that after he was on TV that somebody didn't tell him the rules.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. And to me, Mike, as you mentioned, I'm not the biggest WBC guy. And to me, this whole controversy just speaks to the Mickey Mouse quality of this event. It is not a real tournament. It is not real baseball. First of all, start with Mark DeRosa, okay? Former Major League player from New Jersey, outstanding high school player, but the guy's a TV commentator. You know, when the United States goes and plays Olympic basketball or they go and play in a international tournament, the United States picks a real coach. They do not take Jay Billis and make him the coach of the team. Jay Billis is a TV guy. Mark DeRosa is a TV guy. I saw a great social media post today that I kind of reposted on my timeline on X saying that what Team America needed, and Mike, you've been around youth sports, everybody, every youth team, be it basketball, baseball, has that one dad who's an accountant who figures out all the possibilities, who says, we got to beat Team A by 4 runs to advance. We got to beat Team B by 6 points to advance. That's what Team USA needs. They need a baseball dad. Where's Bryce Harper's dad or Alex Bregman's dad with the clipboard telling Mark DeRosa, okay, this is exactly what you need to do to advance? Never mind the fact that the USA loses to Italy, which, you know, is features a bunch of guys who, for the most part, have never played in the big leagues, and a bunch of guys who, like Aaron Nola, who is from Louisiana. I understand that Nola's name ends in a vowel and he probably has Italian heritage, but how does that qualify him to pitch for Team Italy? It's completely insane, and I can think of nothing better to prove that this event is just a complete and total sham than to have the USA not advance and like Great Britain and 100-year-old Vance Worley out there pitching against the Dominican Republic in 2 weeks. It's a joke.
I agree, and there's so much you just said. So, number one, you're right. Number one, Harper and Bregman's dad didn't tell him because they got benched yesterday.
They got
so the dad
benched.
they were ticked off because he didn't play those guys. So that dad said, I'm not helping you because you benched my son. Two, you're absolutely right. Look, I coach, and in our tournaments, runs against is the tiebreaker.
Exactly.
I said, you mean to tell me and my jabroni assistant coach,
Right.
we know every pitch, every inning of what runs against are from the other game, and what we have it all mapped out. You're telling me that Mark DeRosa, even if he didn't know when he went on TV, the moment he got off TV, the whole roster, every assistant coach, and everybody else who watched him on there didn't say, hey, you're not into the quarterfinals. You kind of need this game.
Right.
At that point, he says, oh, man, I misspoke. Okay, fine. He was so arrogant then that he still sat all of his guys. He sat Harper. He sat Bregman. He sat Buxton. He had Clayton Kershaw, who looked 350 pounds, warming up in the bullpen with the score 8-0, and everyone like, yo, you can't give up any more runs. This was a total, I agree. And it's like, look, I've been to Croatia before. Am I qualified to play for the Croatian team now? I've made pizza in my house. Can I play for Team Italy? And then the other thing that I didn't even realize, there's a pitch count like it's high school baseball. They had to take the pitcher out at 65 pitches. You're at 63, so you can finish the batter now. I said, what kind of joke rules are we playing with here?
A couple things you said there, Mike. Another great social media post I saw on X, and I forget who posted it, but it was another great one. Said that Bryce Harper and Alex Bregman's dads were in the parking lot forming a rival team after their sons got benched in Game 3. And first of all, for DeRosa to say, I watched that interview, and he's saying, well, I had to rest some guy. We're going to rest some guy. What do you mean you're going to rest some guys? These guys haven't played baseball since October. This is the third game in the tournament. How does Bryce Harper or Alex Bregman need a rest? Again, if you're going to play this thing, do it in the middle of the season or do it in November when the World Series is over for 2 weeks, when guys are still in shape and pitchers are stretched out and stuff like that. That gives you a real test. But to me, what is unfolding with this WBC just goes to show. And I tell people all the time, people come up to me all the time and tell me, Mike, you don't know what you're talking about. You're missing out. It's a great event. Ohtani strikes out Trout. Kyle Schwab hits a home run. Trey Turner hits a home run off somebody from AA baseball. Everybody goes crazy. To me, it's a Mickey Mouse event, and it's being proven by what is happening right now. And personally, if the United States does not advance, I will be having a good laugh up here in Hal over this whole debacle thing, especially when you look at the bracket. I mean, Brazil, Great Britain, and Italy, the United States can't advance out of that. Somebody's got to be fired, right? Heads have got to roll.
There's no doubt about it. And then I'm thinking last night, all right, you're playing Italy, okay? Italy, not necessarily known for their baseball. So you mean to tell me that the system's got to be broken then? You lose to Italy, who's a bunch of jabronis who basically don't have any place to play, so they have a vowel in their name, they go there. So the third and fifth best hitter in the whole country of Italy isn't good enough to play in the major leagues then? We got all sorts of problems. You're telling me that, like Dante Nori, by the way, okay, he's a good example. He is in the Phillies system. No one has any idea who this guy is. He's on the team that just beat Bryce Harper, for God's sakes. What are we doing here? I listen, I want to get into baseball. I can't believe that the crowds are like this, and I get it. All these people, they root for their country, and I'm not telling you not to. I am a baseball fan. I just can't get behind the competition of it.
Right.
That's the problem I have. I just don't care if USA wins this thing. I'm not like, yeah, we won this. We beat Italy. Well, we lost to Italy.
Right. I mean, I agree with you. I flipped the channels the other night, and I flipped on passing through. I flipped on USA. I think it was versus Great Britain. And I watched the game for an inning, too. I'm a baseball fan. It was nice to see some baseball. But to me, it was the same as flipping the channels on a Sunday afternoon and watching an inning 2 of spring training game. Again, I agree with you. You want to make this better? there's ways to do it. Make it sort of Ryder Cup-ish. Instead of having Great Britain and Italy, have a team from Europe, have a team from South America, not just Brazil. You can have Venezuela, but the other South American countries that aren't as strong can form together for one team and have it be real baseball. And real baseball means pitchers going more than, like you said, 65 pitches or 2 to 3 innings. I don't know what's more alarming, Mike. Noah McLean, who's supposed to be the Mets' rising star, gets roughed up by Italy in early March. I'm more in a panic over that than I am over the United States prospects and a bunch of, as you said, has-beens and never-wases for Italy rough up supposedly the Mets' number one pitching prospect and a guy who's going to be depending upon for the whole season. So, yeah, the World Baseball Classic is just right now, it just seems to be a complete mess to me, basically.
Yeah, well, I agree. Italy wins versus Mexico. USA will advance. So you need Aaron Nola to help you out today. If Mexico wins today and scores 5 or more runs, USA will advance. If Mexico wins and scores 4 or less runs, the United States will be eliminated from the tournament. That's how that all works out.
And I'm sure the people at Fox TV who purchased this thing, they will be wearing, they will be going full bore for Italy today. They are all big Italian fans right now. If you have any sense in the future of this tournament, they will be waving the Italian flag at the Fox Sports Network, or else this thing is going to be, from a TV point of view, an epic disaster, because I don't think Fox exactly paid for the Dominican Republic versus Great Britain in the quarterfinals.
I agree with you wholeheartedly there. So we might see some wild shenanigans in this one here. All right. This Bam Adebayo story, which I didn't even get to pay attention to all that much because this game is on, free agency happens, Max Crosby, they back out of the trade, all that happens. This guy scored 83 points last night. He's the second all-time leading single-game scorer in history. But I'm looking at the highlights. He shot 43 free throws. They're fouling after every basket. The Wizards are fouling on purpose. I mean, what the heck was that?
But, Mike, look, a couple of things about this. And one of the things that I feel really strongly about is the integrity of the game. Last night, both the Wizards and the Miami Heat messed with the integrity of the basketball game and turned the game into a complete and utter farce. And I think it speaks to the problem that the NBA has. And hey, there's no bigger NBA guy than me. I love the NBA. I agree with what Ian Eagle said the other day. If you're a basketball fan and you don't like the NBA, then I'll tell you, you're not a basketball fan, because that basketball is played at an incredibly high level most of the time. However, the NBA does have a regular season problem, and last night kind of epitomized it, where you have the Wizards and the Miami Heat turning a game into a joke. And it's like one of the old-time Sesame Street skits. One of these things is not like the other. Wilt Chamberlain at 100 points. Bam Adebayo at 83 points. Kobe Bryant at 81 points. Who doesn't belong in that sentence? Bam Adebayo. Not a bad player, good player, but the fact that the Wizards and the Heat trick up the game to shoot him, to get him to 83 points is, again, from a sports perspective, a disgrace, a just flat out disgrace. And the officials should have stopped it. The officials, if that was a Hal Rec game on a Saturday morning at Hal Middle School North, I would have stopped the game and pulled both teams aside and said, what are you doing? You're making a mockery of the game. You can either get off the court now or you can play the right way. It was, again, from a sports perspective, a disgrace.
100%. I said, what is going on here? He's missing free throws on purpose so they can get the rebound. I couldn't believe when I saw the highlights after it. And by the way, it's not like Bam Adebayo is like one of the top 5 scorers in this league. It's like, what random night did you decide I want to go for 83?
Exactly. It's not like also that Bam Adebayo is like Kobe Bryant at the end of his career, or Mike, I could even accept it a little bit if like a stunt like this was pulled, to get LeBron James to 80 points or get Steph Curry to 80 points, guys with some sort of currency in their career, historic figures in the game of basketball. Bam Adebayo, nice player, good player for the Miami Heat. But 83 points, again, one of these things is not like the other. Wilt Chamberlain, Bam Adebayo, Kobe Bryant. I mean, it is remarkable that this went on last night. And Mike, like you said, I'm watching TV last night and I'm like, and looking at social media and I'm like, why is this Miami Heat Wizards game trending? What is going on? And then I turned it on and I'm like, this is a joke. Bam Adebayo has 75 points. How did this happen? It's again, the NBA is basketball at its highest level. When it's played right, it's brilliant. But it has a regular season issue, and last night illustrated it when you have guys making a mockery of the game.
Yeah, 10:21, my girlfriend's son said, Adebayo scoring 83 was not on my list of things I thought would happen tonight. He texted me. I was like, what are you talking about? And I'm looking around like, wait a second. What just happened here? That happened. USA was losing, and then Max Crosby, the Ravens back out of the deal, Mike. I mean, you can't get more bizarre. And then the first thing this morning, they signed his replacement. How is this allowed to happen?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Again, I guess it just goes to show, and we kind of take it for granted a lot of times, that, deals are announced pending a physical and stuff like that. And I guess, they took a look at the knee and didn't like what they saw. The same thing happened in baseball a couple of years ago with Carlos Correa. Remember, I thought he had signed a deal with the San Francisco Giants, and they took a look at his physical and passed on the deal. And I think he signed with the Mets, and they took a look at his physical and passed on the deal. So again, it's a helpful reminder. But again, you wonder how, a lot of dominoes fell because Max Crosby made a decision to go to the Baltimore Ravens, and then it doesn't happen. And you kind of wonder, what would teams have done differently if they knew this decision was going to fall through, right at the start. So, yeah, a weird and kind of wacky night in the sports world last night.
Sure was. Were you at Boardwalk Hall last night?
I was not at Boardwalk Hall last night. I was at the Middle Township High School boys basketball game, Mike. But the MAC finished up last night. I watched it on television, and I thought it looked great on television last night. I thought the atmosphere looked spectacular. I think the MAC tournament moving to its new dates was a success. You had good crowds on Friday. You had good crowd on Saturday. Sunday night, the crowd was shaky. Could have been better. Probably not that very good. But to me, Sunday night, 6:30 or 6 and 8:30 tip-offs on a Sunday night for men's semifinals. You got school on Monday. You got work on Monday. You got the beginning of the work week. I think that's a little tough. But overall, and it was probably due to Siena being in the game, and they brought down a couple of busloads of students. I thought Boardwalk Hall really looked great. And, in fact, I have a column coming out, a must-win in the pressofac.com. The state wrestling now moves into Atlantic City and Boardwalk Hall, and about how those two events, the MAC and the state wrestling, should stay at Boardwalk Hall and really make this a great, 7 to 10 day period for Atlantic City and Atlantic City sports fans.
All right. I saw it. By the way, I said St. Peter's made the run a couple of years ago. You had Patino get hired. The guy from Iona, Claxton, he ended up going to Florida and win a national championship.
Right.
And I would imagine Jerry McNamara will likely be the new coach at Syracuse.
At Syracuse. And Joe Gallo, the coach of Merrimack, look for him to be at Boston College soon, maybe, or he's going to get a high-level Major I job. So, again, you're seeing great basketball down there, and I thought it was a success. Part of the thing, Mike, I don't know how you feel. I feel like Atlantic City's always got to prove itself in Boardwalk Hall. It's almost like session by session. Are there enough people here? Should the tournament be here? What's going on? Listen, Boardwalk Hall is an outstanding arena. The atmosphere in there isn't great. When, like anything in life, like any sporting event, when they get the right matchup, they draw people. It's a great event to go see. I think everybody can exhale and just say the MAC belongs in Boardwalk Hall, and that's where it'll be till 2031 at least.
I agree. Love the venue. Awesome spot to watch a game. March Madness last night, Siena at Atlantic City's Boardwalk Hall. Mike McGarry, there was a plethora of bizarre stories that we just broke down for you. Appreciate it, Mike.
All right, we'll see you down the road, Mike. Thank you.
There's Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, Mike is all over the place this time of the year. We got his must-win segments right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. I am Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. Coming up, we have so much more early nuggets today. We'll hear what Nick has to bring to the table as we get you ready for really the start of the league year starts at 4 o'clock today. So that is when stuff starts to become official. And we'll see what direction the Eagles go in. Do they get involved in the Max Crosby stuff now? That's something we're going to talk about with Q Myers, who covers the Raiders and, of course, is a national radio host right here on 97.3 ESPN's Game Night. We'll talk to him at 4:30. All right, coming up, we got the Nuggets. But first, it's your first opportunity today to enter to win the bus trip to Baltimore. Caller 7 right now. Jump on the phone, 609-573-3776. Caller 7. You are entered to win a bus trip to Baltimore to see the Phillies play the Orioles on Friday, July 31st. How do you win? Well, you must be present to win as a entry. To be an entry, be caller 7 right now. The Sports Bash will be live at the Anchorage in Summers Point for Phillies opening day watch party on March 26th. We'll be doing the show live. The Phillies will be on. We want everybody out there wearing their Phillies gear. And then we will announce one lucky winner will win a pair of lower-level tickets, transportation to and from the game, a tailgate party for the Phillies-Orioles game. It's all happening March 26th, live at the Anchorage in Summers Point. Caller 7, 609-573-3776. All right, 3 o'clock, Sports Bash this hour brought to you by Broadley's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Knicks Nuggets, early Nuggets today. Flyers and Caps tonight. Listen to the game on Rock 104.1. We got the Big Ten Championship. The March Madness has begun. And to get you ready for March Madness, we give you a little taste of the madness. Starting tonight, we'll have college basketball to get you ready for March Madness, which begins next Thursday right here on 97.3 ESPN, your home for all the madness. Well, there was madness happening last night all over the place. Baseball madness, NBA madness, football free agency madness. What other nuggets do we have? Earnshaw is in with early nuggets today. Nick Earnshaw, he is the producer of the Locker Room Weekends on 97.3 ESPN. What happened to my Earnshaw radio?
Oh, dude. There's got a lot going on. Got no time for it. Literally zero.
No time for Earnshaw radio.
Zero time. You know, when you have, I work, 3, sometimes 4 jobs. So that's it. You know, when you work nights, it's tough to get it in, you know? We'll get it in eventually. But guess what? Last night, I tweeted this out, and this is the theme of the Nuggets today. March 10th, 2026 is a day that will live in sports infamy, Mike. Bam's historic 83 points. Max Crosby trade Knicks by the Ravens. USA Baseball manager Mark DeRosa comments on not knowing they could still be eliminated from group play. Sheesh. What a day last night was, to say the least. And we'll start with Bam's 83 points. Now, I heard you and Mike McGarry. He's out on the whole 83 last night from Bam Adebayo. And I've seen a lot of people kind of taken away from what Bam did yesterday. Listen, it's historic what he did. I understand. They're trying to get him to 83. They're doing everything they can. You might not love the way that it was played down the stretch last night, but we have to remember the guy had 62 after 3 quarters. I would do everything you can to try and get that guy into the conversation to get him to 83. Everyone's all upset, up in arms. They did the same thing for Wilt. They did stuff that was a little out of pocket, all right? When he scored 100. So, yeah, they were trying to get the guy to 83. Was it great basketball? Probably not. I mean, they're triple teams, all this type of stuff. But he had 62 after 3 quarters. I liked it. I think it was historic and good for Bam. Who cares? Like, he doesn't need to be an all-time great to be in that conversation. He had an historic night. We'll never forget it. And that's that. I don't know why everyone gets so upset with the way things go down sometimes. This was historic. Historic, Mike.
Yeah, I can't go historic. That was embarrassing. You have him throwing balls off the rim on purpose. You got him, guys on the fact of the matter is, you have a tanking problem in the league.
Sure.
And you have a team that is in full tank mode, acquiescing to try to help you get there. So you didn't really achieve this on your own. You needed help to get there, and you got help from the other team.
He had 62 points in the third. Yeah, let's try and get him there. Let's try and get the guy there. He's already having a historic night. I'm fine with it. I am
shot
okay
43 free throws, okay?
So did Wilt. Wilt shot like 43 throws in his 100-point game.
Here's the difference. Wilt was constantly at the free throw line in his career. Bam Adebayo averages less than 5 free throws a game.
Then what happened in the first half? Dude,
I don't know. I saw he had 30 points in the first quarter. I'm thinking, what happened in this game that this guy randomly – look, Bam's a great player. He's not a scorer, though. So for him to score 30 points in the first quarter, I was like, how did this happen?
Yes, that's why I'm saying I'm cool with the way everything played out because he was already having an insane night. It was one of those nights.
He could have been given a ton of respect for, look, you had this great game. You scored 60-some points. Bam Adebayo doesn't have to go down as the second all-time single-game scorer in league history. He's a nobody.
Who cares? That's the problem. Everyone wants it to be a superstar has to do it. Why can't we be happy for the guy? He's not a superstar. Who cares who it is? I don't care who it is. It was an historic night, and he started off with 30-plus points in the first quarter, ended up with 62 in the third.
I'm not saying because he's not the point is, it felt very manufactured, as opposed to, like, if Kobe Bryant scores 81 and they manufacture Kobe scoring 81, meaning they just kept giving him and distributing him the ball. He's Kobe. He's a scorer. That's what he's known for. This guy comes out of right field and is like, hey, tonight, you know what? I feel like scoring 83.
Yes, I love that. I love the idea of that, it being not one of the greatest of all time. I think that's the best part of this whole thing, is that it was Bam. Like, how the heck did Bam like have this amazing start and then finish with an amazing feat?
I would agree if at the end of the day, he just had like one of those nights where he just was unconscious. And you're like, dude, for one night only, this guy shot the lights. That's not what happened here. That's not what happened. Like, Campaign last night shot the lights out. And at the end of the night, like, for one night, there was a guy from the Sixers called, his name was Willie Burton. Played for the Sixers. I was growing up. I was in high school. Willie Burton was a nobody. But he scored 50 one night just because he got blistering hot and just, it was like bananas. And you're like, dude, good for you. You scored 50. So I have no problem with the fact that Burton was a nobody who scored 50. He just kept shooting threes, and they just kept going in. So this is a different situation. They're fouling on purpose. They're winning the game by 50 points, and they're fouling. Washington's turning the ball over on purpose to help this guy. I mean, it felt like a Globetrotters game where it was scripted out. Hey, we're going to give you the ball. We're going to foul you. Go miss a free throw. We'll let you get the rebound. It was pathetic.
But they were doing the same thing against the Knicks when Wilt scored, right? 100?
I didn't see the game.
No, well, there's no video proof. There's no video proof. I mean, we know that. It's a whole other conversation. But allegedly, according to the box score, they were fouling, right? From eyewitnesses, they were fouling in Wilt's 100-point game. If you got a shot, and the fact that he had a shot,
I got to pull up the box score for Wilt's 100-point game.
And he had a similar amount of free throws in that game. That's why, like,
I don't question the free throws for Wilt because he was constantly at the free throw line. Bam Adebayo shot 43 free throws last night. He averages 5.
Listen, that's my point. Is like, he already had 31 in the first. He was unbelievable heading into the half. He was unbelievable in the third. It was that type of night. It was an odd night. The guy just kept scoring. You might as well go for it. That I have no problem with that. No problem.
Wilt, by the way, shot 32 free throws in that particular game. That
crazy amount, 30 plus in that game.
By the way, is he shot 32? Bam shot 43. So
it's a lot. And that's indicative of today's NBA. That if you want to get into that conversation, that's a whole different conversation. But that is indicative of today's NBA, of all the free throw shooting, the foul baiting. I understand that. If people want to be upset about that, fine. I am okay with him going for 83 and then fouling in the end of the game, etc. I'm okay with it because it was already a weird night to start. The fact he had 30 plus in the first quarter was already, all right, this guy's on a different level tonight. Something weird's happening.
Yeah. See, Wilt Chamberlain averaged 11 free throws per game anyway. So he lived at the free throw line most nights to begin with.
Tripled
Bam
that.
Adebayo averages, I think it was 4.9 attempts per game, I think it is.
Okay, but you just said Wilt averaged 11, right? He had 32 in that game. 32.
But my point is, him to get, like, there's some nights Embiid gets to the line 10 times, 20 times.
Sure.
There are certain matchups that he's just going to dominate, and he gets to the line because that's his game. That's Wilt's game, was to get to the line because he was just bigger than. That's not Bam Adebayo gets to the line 5 times a game.
To me, I think people are just upset that it was Bam.
Nobody care about it being Bam. I like Bam. I love watching Bam's game. It has nothing to do with him. By the way, Bam Adebayo averages 4.8 free throws per game, 4.8, and he shot 43. So to me, that feels like it was a little bit. Listen, I'm not taking anything away from the guy. He's a great player. I like Bam. I think he's awesome. He's not the second greatest scorer in the history of a game. He shouldn't have been anyway.
I think it's fine. I think it's fine that it was him.
I look at a guy like Willie Burton, who nobody knows who he is, scoring 50 as a more impressive night.
You can argue, was Kobe's 81 more impressive than Bam? Yes, I would say that. Sure, you can argue that. But my thing is, I like that it was somebody like off the radar that you wouldn't think of. I think that's the cool part about this whole thing.
I don't care that it's someone off the radar in terms of like if some rando guy did it because they earned it. My point is I don't think he earned it because he just had that night. He earned it because the other team helped him get there.
I think it's fine. I have no problem with it. He had 60 plus after the third quarter, heading into the fourth. I think people recognize
the game that Joel Embiid had 70 in.
I was there.
Right, but he barely played in the fourth. They weren't trying to get him the ball. He just happened to. He had a night. He went on a heater.
Yeah. Listen, if you're getting close to history, I think you should try and go for it. And I think the basketball community down there recognized it. I have no problem with it. I'm cool with the 83. Is it the best performance of all time? No. I would say Kobe's more impressive.
The night that Kobe scored 81, he was 18 of 20 from the line. He just got on a heater. He was 28 for 46 from the field. He was 7 of 13 from 3. So he just made shots that night. Now, he shot a ton, but it wasn't like he was, 15 for 70. I mean, he just was making shots that night.
And that's where I argue that was more impressive than Bam's. It was a more impressive performance than Bam's 83. That argument you can make. But I have no problem with them trying to get him to 83. No problem.
I mean, listen, I don't have a problem if the team was trying to get him to 83. It wasn't his team trying to get him to 83. It was the other team that was trying to help him get to 83. There's what I'm talking about. If his team said, listen, you shoot all the shots tonight, we're going to just keep giving you the ball, that's fine. It wasn't that they were trying to help him get there. It was the Wizards trying to help him get there.
The last couple minutes of the game, whatever. All right. And then I want to play this also. Kelly Oubre is in the camp of that. And Embiid's 70-point performance was more impressive than Bam's 83. Take a listen to what Kelly Oubre had to say.
Definitely legendary. The box score, right? The number, and shout out to Bam, right? He's just implemented himself in history, and I'm kind of salty that he bested Kobe. It's one of my favorite players for sure. But I'm gonna just say this, man. Joel did it efficiently, and he did it in 3 quarters.
There you go. That's what I said. Did it in 3 quarters.
Yeah, listen, he had 60 plus in 3 quarters. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can make the argument it was more impressive. I'm okay with them trying to shoot for history and pass Kobe. I have no problem.
In that game, Joel had 18 rebounds as well.
It was ridiculous. Yeah, more impressive. I agree it's more impressive. However,
and
I'm okay
he had 5
with
assists in that game, too. So he had 70 points, and he had 5 assists.
Yeah. Listen, I think this is going to be argued about for years and years and years to come now because he's now number 2 all time. I never thought 81 would get surpassed, but it did. If you have a chance to go for history, you go for history. And I think the basketball players realized that last night. No problem with it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't like at the end of the day, I'm going to sleep well. I don't really care, but I'm just giving you my opinion. I'm not all that impressed by it.
I'm still impressed. He had 60 plus in the third, and then they got him to 83 in the fourth. No, I'm cool. When you can go for history, go for history.
As McGarry said, when there's an NBA game and it's well played, it's a beauty to watch. But when you're seeing these tanking teams play, anything that has them involved in the game, it's disgraceful. And by the way, there's an article at ESPN.com that lists all the contenders like schedule down the stretch here. And one of the things that they list is how many tanking teams they still have left on their schedule. The Sixers have 6 games still against teams that are tanking.
Well, are they gonna start tanking sooner rather than later? Who knows? After the Maxey stuff yesterday, that was.
I actually saw a theory. I think it was Kevin O'Connor from where's he right? Where? Yahoo. He said he could see the Sixers falling to the 10 seed, playing in the play-in game, losing the play-in game. Then if you lose the play-in game, you do go to the lottery and get like 9% odds. And last year, that's what happened to the Mavericks. They got 9% odds. They got knocked out of the play-in game and ended up getting the number 1 overall pick.
It's unbelievable. We'll see what happens. If you get nights like campaigns last night, it overshadowed by Bam. 8 for 8 from 3. He was unbelievable. He was electric. It's going to get forgotten in the day of infamy, but it's okay. I will always remember the campaign game last night. All right, moving along. Nugget number 2. I was texting with you about this earlier today, Mr. Mike Gill. One of the most iconic voices in Philly sports is retiring and calling it quits. 28 years at the helm as the PA announcer, Matt Cord is officially retiring after the season. So, Mike, I know you have a little story regarding the Matt Cord retiring at the end of the season.
All right, yeah. So, if you recall, back in about 2012, Matt Cord was the PA guy. He's been the PA guy for 28 years.
Yep.
When the new ownership group came in, Josh Harris, they basically pushed Matt Cord out, and they brought in Tom LeMaine to be the PA guy for a year. Now, LeMaine was terrible. He was very dry, had no energy. It was so boring. The Sixers had an open tryout to be the new PA guy. Well, at the time, I was hosting the show. My co-host was Todd Rank, and Rank wanted to try out to be the PA guy.
Yeah.
And I had no interest in this position. I don't want to be a PA guy at all. But he wanted me to go with him.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, I'll go with you. We rode up together. There was about 100 people that tried out for this job.
Wow.
We got stuffed in a room in the Wells Fargo Center at the time, and they would call you out and bring like 5 out at a time. They gave you a script, and they put on like the whole light show at the entrance, and you had to do the script and read the whole thing.
Right.
Wouldn't you know, Todd, he got cut after the first round, and I made it to the final 3.
How about this?
And they told us, you guys are in the final 3. We'll let you know who ends up getting it. Well, they gave it to Matt Cord. So he got the job back. So I had to sit there all night long. I went through like 3 rounds of reading this script.
Wow.
Only to be told we're giving it back to Matt Cord. I have that audio. It's somewhere.
You got to find
us
that.
doing the starting lineups.
Oh, you got to find that. That needs to be found, and we need to play that on the Sports Bash. That has to be a nugget. That
Now,
has
if
to be
I
a
would have
nugget
won
tomorrow.
the job, I'm not even sure I would have elected to take it. I didn't even want to do it.
You were just going for fun.
I went to support my friend who he wanted the job.
Yeah, he wanted the job, got cut right away, and you ended up in the final 3. Like it was
The
like you were
best-
just getting shots up for practice.
The best part is he had to sit there and wait for me all night long. We didn't get out of there until like 11 o'clock at night.
So when did it start? Like how long were you there for?
I want to say it started like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's a long time just reading the same script over and over again.
So it was like all these PA announcers from like all over the place. Like
Right.
the St. Joe's guy, the LaSalle guy,
Yeah.
the Temple guy, or, somebody out at Westchester or Lehigh. And all these guys were there. And everybody's
unbelievable.
like doing their thing.
It's
And
unbelievable.
I'm just some schmuck bag. I don't even want to do this, but I'm like there with Todd. I was like, I'll do it, whatever. They hand
Yeah,
you the
might as well.
script. You sat at a table in an empty arena, and then the light show would start, and the video screen would go on, and you'd have to start. And now, hear it. Like you would. I
Yep.
was just like, you just went, and they're like, okay, go back in the room, and we'll let you know if you made it to the next round. They told the people who didn't, and then they told the people who did. He got cut, so he had to go stand out on the concourse, and I kept making it.
That's unbelievable. What a story. What a story. Well, 28 years. Coming back after beating out Mike Gill in the early 2010s to
Now,
get the
I
job
seem
back.
to think it was rigged.
Well, hey, you made it in the top 3. Not many people could say that,
So I saw Matt Cord not too long ago
Yep.
up in Philly, and I did get to talk to him for a couple of minutes. And the cool part was he knew who I was. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it's funny. 28 years. There will be
You ever
a
run
new
into him
voice.
up there?
Like briefly saying hello, just a hi and a bye so far. That's about
He's
it.
a great dude.
Yes, he seems like, and we will miss him because he has
It's a
some
tough
iconic.
job to replace now.
That's a tough one to say the least. Joel Embiid, the iconic Iverson. I mean, he's had so many great calls over the years.
The Iverson one is probably the one that he is obviously most known for.
Iconic.
A 6-foot guard. I mean, perfect.
It's awesome. Absolutely awesome. All right, finally, before I get out of here, do you know the rules of the World Baseball Classic, Mike, at all? Do you know?
I honestly was not aware of the rules of like the runs against. I didn't know that there was a pitch count. I'm not a big WBC guy, and last night was one of the reasons why you saw one of the reasons why I'm not a big WBC guy.
Well, you may know more than manager Mark DeRosa, because clearly he had no idea that they could still be eliminated from group play. And that's our final nugget before I get out of here. Listen, Mark DeRosa commented last night, also commented on MLB Network, thinking and said multiple times that he thought they had already clinched their spot moving out of the group play. He then took certain players out of the lineup, and they fell apart last night, the WBC. They partied the night before, etc. It was ridiculous. So this whole thing is turned into a mess, and USA could be eliminated. And you know who the fate of everything is in the hands of? Mr. Aaron Nola.
What time's that game tonight? I might want to watch that.
It's Italy and Mexico. It's being moved, actually. It was supposed to be on Tubi. It's on FS1 now.
Okay, well, all right. I have a ton of takeaways on this. I know we talked about it with McGarry, but there's just so much here. One, so DeRosa goes on MLB Network.
Correct.
And he basically says, hey, we've already punched our ticket to the next round. Here's what DeRosa said on MLB Network last night.
I'm going to get some guys off their feet, no question about it. I'd like to get Goldie a start, and he has been awesome, just a leader of men behind the scenes with Aaron Judge. I'd like to get him in there. I'd like to get Gunnar in there again. Ton of respect for Italy. It's weird. We want to win. We want to win this game, even though our tickets punched to the quarterfinals, because Mexico plays Italy actually tomorrow. So the way the schedule lines up, this is an important game for us. Nolan McLean will start. He's on the bump and he's good to go.
So he said all this, and I think he kind of said that, and then was like, hold on. Like,
wait.
There's no part of me, zero part of me, that thinks he didn't know.
I don't know.
Hold on a second. What time was that interview yesterday?
But he started Paul Goldschmidt. It was prior to the game.
I get that, but here's my take. So it's in the morning. He's on MLB Network.
Yes.
By the time that interview aired and the time he got to the ball, I can't imagine he had to have gotten off he couldn't even have got off the interview. And people had to have texted him. We're not automatically in, right?
I don't know.
My point is, this is utter stupidity and arrogance that he just felt Italy's so bad, it doesn't matter. I still have all-stars. Paul Goldschmidt, by the way, is better than any player on Italy.
Yeah, and then he started claiming that he misspoke, completely misread the calculations, etc. So he thought, I think he thought.
I don't care what he thinks he thought. My point is, after that interview, okay, somebody in USA Baseball, somebody on the staff, somebody on the roster had to say, hey, coach, this game matters. We have to win this game tonight.
But how did no one know? Did nobody? I guess nobody knew because they partied the night before.
I think they partied because they thought Italy was a bunch of pizza makers.
Or they thought they clinched. He said it. He said he misspoke. He completely misread the calculations. He confirmed it.
I think he said I misspoke on that, meaning like I said that, but I did. I can't believe, again, Team Dad knows. Like I said, I coach.
I know.
First tiebreaker is runs against, okay?
Sure.
It is runs against. We know every inning what the update is. My coach will tell me every single batter where we are in the tiebreaker standings. Me and my assistant coach know every single out, what that is up to date. How many more outs do we need against runs that it's like there's no way that I know that and he doesn't.
He said there's some guys dragging today. Like, I don't know.
Oh, again, it goes back to what I said. To me, this was more arrogance than it was ignorance.
No,
they were arrogant and
ignorance.
thought that they could roll out there and beat that team.
I don't know. I think they messed up. I really think they messed up because there's a lot of people that think the World Baseball Classic rules are confusing, and I can agree. So I think they might have messed up here, Mike. I don't know if it was arrogance. I think it might have been ignorance.
They may have even if they messed up the night before. They win the game against Mexico, they party it up. He says that in the morning. After he gets off the air, Somebody has to have told him, a fan, a dad, the towel boy. Somebody says, hey, Mark, you just said you're in. You're not in. Like, you know that, right?
You would think. You would
So
think.
that's why I'm saying you would think. So it's arrogance
I
is
don't
what
know.
happened here. This is a case of arrogance.
Yeah, someone should have let him know at the very least if someone did not. It's crazy. It's craziness. All right. 3-pack a day.
I refuse to believe that no one let him know.
I don't think anyone let him know. I mean, you had foul guys on foul territory, AJ Przinsky saying the same thing. Like, how is no one in his ear?
That's my point. They were in his ear. He knew.
I don't think he knew. I don't think he knew.
He might not have known in the morning on the show. By the time he got off that show, he had 100 text messages telling him, you know the rules, you're not in yet.
Then he should have penciled in everybody and said, hey, take it easy tonight.
No, goes back to arrogance. I can still beat Italy with – listen, he had Paul Goldschmidt playing as a backup. He had Clement as a backup. It's not like those guys stink. Those guys are the two best players on Italy.
I know, but he said it's weird, quote, it's weird we want to win this game, even though our tickets punch to the quarterfinals.
I know what he said, and I'm telling you, in that interview, maybe at that time, he did not know the rules. I'm not debating that. When he said that, by the time he got off the TV, his phone had to have said, dude, you are not in. And then he just said, I don't care. I'm still playing these guys because we're still better than they are.
So you think it's a little bit of both then? You think it's both in the beginning, he didn't know it first, and then he said, we're going to beat him anyway. We could start whoever.
Yes.
That's fair. I could see that happening. I think I could see that happening, but I don't know.
I'm not debating whether he knew or not after they beat Mexico. He might have said, hey, we've won, we're in, we're 2-0, there's nothing that can take us out. He goes on TV and says, we've already punched our ticket, but we still want to win this game, and I want to get some guys off my feet. At that point, someone says, yo, dude, you know you're not in already. That's okay. I can still start Goldie. Dude, he could play whoever he wants. His roster is 100 times better than Italy's is.
It's unbelievable. And
Not
then
to
they
mention,
lose.
they start at Michael Lorenzen.
I know. And then they lose. And now your fate's into Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola's hands.
So apropos. And by the way, that game's at 7 o'clock tonight.
Yep. 7 o'clock. They moved it to Fox because everyone's going to be watching. All right, Mike. 3-pack for you today.
All right, there you go. Thanks, Nick. All right, there's the Nuggets today on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. What are your guys' take on all that? 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. I mean, listen, bizarro world, right? Bizarro world that the manager would go on there and say, well, we're already got our ticket punched, but we want to get some guys off their feet. Listen, I don't care. They thought they were going to beat Italy no matter what. No matter what. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. What do you guys think about that? Hit me up on the White Horse RV text board. Poll question, we'll update that on the other side. There's a lot of questions I have about this Mark DeRosa thing, by the way. How can you be the manager at any level and not be aware of this? But that being said, somebody had to have informed him. All right, we'll get back with that. I got text messages, 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. More Sports Bash coming up. Football at 4, Jeff Mosher today. His thoughts on the Eagles' free agent move. Woolen is in. Calcaterra is here. Anything else? Do they get involved in the Max Crosby thing? Stick around. All right, 335. Sports Bass Live, 97.3 ESPN. Whitehorse RV text board. Your RV adventure starts here. Whitehorse RV. The DeRosa debacle reminds me of McNabb didn't know the rules and the game's going to end in a tie. I'm less surprised by that. These NFL players, they don't know the rules. Like, a lot of these guys, they just play. Tell me where to play. I'm not surprised that the guys don't know all of the intricate rules as much. DeRosa's the manager of the team. Like, I don't blame the manager for all that much. These are the things you need to know as the manager, right? You're in charge. You got to know that. And even this, I'm not even saying, I don't even care that he didn't know the rule. My point is, by the time the game started, someone had to have told him. And even if he said, I misspoke. Meaning, I said that, but like I thought maybe. Here's what DeRosa said.
Yeah, I misspoke. I was on hot stove with a couple buddies today and completely misread the calculations. We knew that Mexico was going to play Italy and then running all the numbers with if we lost tonight with the runs allowed and runs scored and outs. So I just misspoke.
Outs. The outs have nothing to do with it, by the way. He just said I misspoke. So, again, even if he doesn't know the whole situation, even if he didn't know at all, he's on there yesterday. He says, I misspoke. We knew, blah, blah, blah. And he's just saying, he said it, like I think he just kind of said it. But, again, even if he's completely oblivious to the rules, by the time he got off the television yesterday, somebody had to have told him. Right? Or do you not agree with that?
It's not that I disagree with that, because there's a scenario where they could have told him and he still mismanaged the situation. Like the fact that,
again, well, you said he mismanaged the situation. I think that's where arrogance comes in. He said, it don't matter, it's Italy.
Because to me, the whole comment where we'll play it again really quick, because I want people to listen to how he frames this, because to me, the way he frames this sounds like a guy who doesn't have the necessary connection to what is like the weight of what is going on here.
I'm going to get some guys off their feet, no question about it. I'd like to get Goldie a start, and he has been awesome, just a leader of men behind the scenes with Aaron Judge. I'd like to get him in there. I'd like to get Gunnar in there again. Ton of respect for Italy. It's weird. We want to win. We want to win this game, even though our tickets punched to the quarterfinals, because Mexico plays Italy actually tomorrow. So the way the schedule lines up, this is an important game for us. Nolan McLean will start. He's on the bump and he's good to go.
The casual nature, the laissez-faire,
goes back to what I said.
To me, that's more of a problem than the other stuff.
It was arrogance. He said, and he's not wrong though. You're telling me, if I start Paul Goldschmidt, we're that bad? We're going to lose to Italy?
Well, apparently they were.
Yes, but I think point being, you could have started Bryce Harper and Byron Buxton and who else didn't start yesterday?
Bregman.
Does that mean you were automatically going to win? You were losing 8-0. So you gave up 8 runs.
And by the way, the only way anybody cares is because they lost. Okay? Let's remind everybody of that. If they didn't lose last night, we would not be talking about it today. Because as a general principle, most people don't care about the WBC. But because they were down 8-0 to Italy.
But that's the thing. So now, I can make an argument that he pitched Skubal against Great Britain. Italy last night had a bunch of left-handers in that lineup. Why not pitch Skubal in that game?
That's a good question.
So why use your best pitcher against the worst? Listen, Great Britain, no offense to them, not a huge baseball country. I went to a game. It was the Phillies against the Mets in London. Not one local had any idea that game was being played there. So I have a hard time thinking there's a bunch of baseball talent that is, hanging around there. So you say to Skubal, hey, if you're going to pitch a game, Italy might be the game we want you to pitch in, or maybe even against Mexico.
Sure.
That being said, I can understand to some point the arrogance of saying, we're playing Italy. There's no way in the world that team should beat you in any lineup that you put out there. Doesn't matter what your lineup was. Doesn't matter who you picked or how you situated that lineup. You were from 1 to 9 better than them.
But it doesn't mean you pull your punches. Like, one of the things with the Dream Team back in 92 and 96 was they knew they were better than everybody else, and they still ran them over. They didn't say, you know what, it's whatever, we're playing them, we're going to advance, we'll figure it out. They didn't do that.
I get that. But again, I think it was the arrogance of saying it doesn't matter who we play, it's Italy. We're going to win this game no matter what, and we'll move on to the quarterfinals. I think that's where he misspoke. He said, oh, we're already in, because in his mind, we're going to win this game,
right,
and then we move on. Because he said, all the calculations and all that stuff. After that interview's over, somebody has to say to him, hey, Mark, we have, oh, yeah, but we're playing Italy. What's the difference? That's the arrogance that I'm talking about. And I'm not saying like I just played Ric Flair. I'm not saying he's Ric Flair arrogant. But I'm just saying he didn't think there was any chance, no matter what he did, that they were going to lose that game.
And I think that's where this situation fuels what people like. They asked this morning on Sportsman here on 97.3 ESPN. Why is Mark DeRosa the manager? Now, I don't think that this game, one game, should make or break him being the manager necessarily, but it only fuels the arguments that people have about why are we giving a guy who's a TV commentator the managerial job of the American baseball team?
That's a great question. Why was he the guy? He was the manager the last time, though,
yes,
right?
Yes, he was.
Okay, so.
And they didn't win last time either.
Yeah, but they went to the finals.
They did.
So it's not like, obviously they went to the finals. They lost to Japan. It was a great game. I didn't watch the WBC all that intently to see what he did and what he didn't do. And I just.
Yeah, well,
again,
frankly, most people didn't watch it intently, so nobody knows if he did a good job or not either.
That's my point. I don't know.
For all we know, they could have won despite him.
I don't know. I didn't watch the games. I have no idea what he did as the manager. All I know is he had way more talent last night. He could have thrown darts at the dartboard and had a better lineup than Italy did. So, again, it goes back. In my mind, it was more arrogance here than the story is the arrogance, not him not knowing the rule.
Right.
Because there's no doubt in my mind by the time he got off that interview last night that somebody told him that they had not advanced.
Correct.
And at that point, he said, what's the difference? We're playing Italy. Let me get Goldie a start. And by the way, these are Major League All-Star players. It's not like I'm going to, like Italy is, a guy who's never played in the majors, a guy who has no shot to get to the majors. I'm going from Bryce Harper to Paul Goldschmidt. Okay? Don't act like I don't have the better team no matter who I play. The arrogance of that is what I'm talking about. Because now, Jeff Kerr asked a bevy of questions, okay? And I want to answer these questions kind of one by one here. All right? He says, how can you be the manager coach of anything at a high level, high school or up, and not be aware of what your team needs to advance or not? How do you not know those scenarios? Totally fair. And I think by the time he got off the TV, he probably did know those scenarios. Do you agree with that or no? So you think no one in the world saw that interview and said, hey, Mark, you are aware that you did not advance?
I don't disagree. To me, that part of it, I just don't, it doesn't rile me up that much. I feel like probably someone did say something to him, but like you said, he was just like, yeah, whatever.
Exactly. But the question that Kerr asked is, how can you be the manager at anything at a high level and not be aware of what your team? I can understand. I can agree with that. How do you not know this? That, to me, would be a damning thing that he didn't know. But again, that could have been rectified by the time he got off the game. Yes. That someone would have said, hey, Mark, let's sit down and go over the scenarios for tonight. We have to win this game because if we lose, we have a loss, and Italy would have no losses, and Mexico hasn't lost yet, so therefore we could be out.
Right. Most likely that got rectified.
Number two, he says, how could the players respect you and your staff if they don't know you don't have a clue of what you're doing? Would you not knowing the tie-breaking procedures mean that you can't manage the game? I don't think that's fair either.
I don't know what to do with that question because of the fact that I feel like a lot of those players are there because they want to represent Team USA. I don't think a lot of guys are there because Mark DeRosa is the manager. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of these guys, like, I don't think when DeRosa was announced or he was brought back for I don't think Bryce Harper was like, Oh man, because Mark DeRosa, I played with him for 1 or 2 years in Washington. I can't wait to be with that guy. Now I think Bryce Harper said, I want to wear Team USA. That's why I want to do it.
So, number 3, he asked, DeRosa is a very good analyst on MLB Central. If the U.S. is eliminated tonight, how could he actually go back to that job and analyze baseball when fans know he didn't know if his team advanced or not prior to playing their final group play? Is that fair?
I think it's fair, but it's also funny because it's funny, right? It's like the idea is like people are watching him on TV and he's like giving advice about batting, and then you got some random Twitter troll being like, "But you can't manage, you stink. You're like Rob Thompson."
See, not knowing the rules of this wonky tournament to me is different from not knowing the game.
Like, how many people actually do know the rules?
I did not know the rules because I don't care about the WBC.
That's the
I wasn't
point.
paying
I
attention.
don't think him not knowing the rules disqualifies him for being a baseball analyst. I think it just makes it funny when you get some of the comments they get on social media.
Yeah. Wasn't there a quarterback this year who didn't know the overtime rules? Didn't that just happen this year or last year?
Probably. Let me look it up.
Well, I know the whole thing with McNabb. He didn't know at that time that you couldn't end the game in a tie, but that was at a time where there were, I think they had just gone to the overtime because you used to be able to end the game in a tie, but they went to overtime. But whatever. I know a ton of pro athletes that many of them, I'm like, they don't know the rules or they don't know the game at all. They just happen to be amazing athletes, but don't put the time in to understand the game. The guys who know the game, they're the guys that are on the different level. Many of those are the guys who aren't that good. They just happen to be good enough to make it to the majors, but they make it to the majors because they know the game. Many of these guys, they don't know the rules. They just are awesome players or awesome athletes.
So really quick, in Super Bowl 58, multiple 49er players admitted after the game they were not aware of the overtime rules or the format and how that would impact
That's right. It was
play calling.
It was the Super Bowl.
Eric Armstead and Brock Purdy were among the players who said they were not informed about how the rules were different in overtime in the Super Bowl versus the regular season.
Yeah. The entire 49er team didn't know that the game, the overtime situation.
Correct.
Yeah. I was going to say, I knew that happened here recently where it doesn't surprise me one bit that cause I know guys who have played professionally and they're like, I don't know the rules, man. I just go out there and play. So I don't take for granted that these guys know the rules at all and have
no one's
no surprise. If you're surprised by that, you're a bigger idiot than I thought for the most people out there. All right, coming up, we have plenty more to go. We'll do the poll question. It's up at Mike Gill Show. You can vote in the poll question. Today's poll question, easy one. Simple. Vote at Mike Gill Show right now. It's this. Do you like how Howie Roseman is working this offseason so far? Yes, no, or you're indifferent. At Mike Gill Show, vote. We'll have the results coming up next. And right now, that is your cue to call. You can win a pair of tickets, lower level seats, to go see the Phillies play the Orioles at Camden Yards. Win a bus trip to see the Phillies in Baltimore. The game, Friday, July 31st. How do you win? Be caller 7 right now. That's your first step. Step number 2, you must be present to win. When the Sports Bash is live at the Anchorage in Summers Point, 823 Bay Avenue, for our Phillies opening day watch party on Thursday, March 26th. We will be there live for the Phillies opening day against the Texas Rangers. You must be present to win, and one lucky winner will win round-trip transportation, 2 lower-level seats for the game, a tailgate party, and more. Caller 7 right now. Good luck. And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It is brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. They will have the March Madness tournament beginning on Thursday next week. We will have all the games right here on the Sports Bass Live 97.3 ESPN. Get in on the action at Ocean Casino Resort's Madness Zone March 19th through the 22nd and catch every college basketball game and place your bets at Atlantic City's best sports book while you watch, eat, and drink all tournament long. Book now at theoceanac.com. Turn it into a getaway with the Madness Zone hotel package, an overnight stay plus a $50 food and beverage credit. Taste Atlantic City runs through March 31st with 3-course menus for $60. And see Bert Kreischer on April the 3rd and the 4th, plus Lenny Kravitz on May 16th at Ovation Hall. All right, let's bring in Jeff Mosher on a day where the Eagles have got some things going. Actually, it happened yesterday. Right when we got off the air, the Eagles made a couple of moves, and unless something has happened in the last couple of moments since Jeff has popped on to the screen, Jeff, Rick Woolen, who I don't know how Howie convinced him to take a one-year deal, but this is a pretty impactful move for Howie Roseman, is it not?
It's an impactful move. I mean, you know better than this, Mike. Come on. Howie didn't convince him to take a one-year deal over some offer elsewhere for more money and more years. As Adam and I say on Inside the Birds, and you know this, the NFL tells you how it feels about a player by that player's contract, and especially when free agency comes along. He signed a one-year deal up to $15 million, so it's not fully $15 million. I think it's 12. What did Adoree get? 1 year for 8, I think. So it's a little bit more than Adoree Jackson. He's a talented kid who had a really good first year, but he's got knocks against him. There's immaturity knocks. There's mental lapses. He was benched in a game this year. He's also very handsy. He led the Seahawks in penalties. So I know you've talked about it. I've heard others point out this stat that, his numbers are really good when targeted. Okay. But if that stat really told the story of who Rick Woolen is, he wouldn't be signing a one-year deal in free agency.
Yeah, I know that.
By the way, I that sounded negative. I'm sorry. I was just sort of going off of the convincing thing. He obviously, to me, is a high upside upgrade over Adoree Jackson, so long as he fits this system well and can really get his head on straight. There's potential there. There sure is.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask. What kind of fit is this? This is a guy who's pretty good in man coverage, across from Quinyon Mitchell now.
Yep.
It's going to be Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and you would think Woolen. And his name has come up in trade talks the last couple of years, and it was like, hey, should you kick the tires there? He's a big – I said, going back to the early Eagles when Dallas had Michael Irvin and Alvin Harper, and you drafted Bobby Taylor. They were trying to find guys to go up there. He would fit that bill, 6'4", 215, big physical corner. Does he fit, in your mind, Vic Fangio's system?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Vic actually played more man defense last year than he had the year before. And I obviously did that because it's a year later of Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, right? And he just felt more comfortable, especially on third down in the NFL. You want to be able to play man defense. You're going to either blitz or you're going to, in Vic's case, either play a tilted front or have a sim pressure. You're going to try to rattle the quarterback on third down, and you would love to be able to play man defense to get those receivers, kind of bumped off their routes while the quarterback's under a little bit of duress. That's the key to playing defense. That's why the Seahawks were so good at it. They did not blitz very much at all. Excuse me. So there is a clear fit with those long arms that he has. He can be sticky. I did speak to someone. I spoke to someone today who did a personnel person in the NFL who did watch his tape for his team. And he told me that he feels it's an upgrade. He thinks it's a good system fit, good man press corner. But along with those other things that I said, he gave up too many deep balls for a guy who has great speed and really long arms. So that's one thing you'd have to look out for.
All right, so intrigued by how he fits in here. It's a one-year deal for Rick Woolen. And, of course, one problem with him, he's got a lot of penalties. He's been a guy who gets a lot of these 15-yarders. That's something that you're going to have to account for. He had a huge penalty in that NFC Championship game against the Rams. He was the one that was whistled for that, and I thought it was a weak taunting penalty, but he's got a couple of those. He has been flagged for stuff like this in the past, so he's your new Derek Barnett.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that, okay? Because I was trying to think of a comp and you just gave it to me. Because as soon as the Eagles made the signing, I kind of saw this like reaction on social media, like this is another great Howie steal. And it's so funny because if Reek Woolen's exact career was with the Eagles, right, where it starts off with a good rookie year like Derek Barnett, but by the end of the year, you're talking about a guy who's had too many lapses, getting benched, making mental mistakes in a big game. Eagles fan, if he were an Eagle right now, Eagles fans would want him to get out, right? Like it's so that's the funny thing. It's just like Eagles fans had enough of Derek Barnett by the end of his career. Remember they were mad when he got re-signed for a 1-year deal to the Eagles, right? Yeah. So I think it's always I find this fascinating is that sometimes fans and public get like excited by the other team's player who's clearly not impressing that team because they think it's going to change here, but in reverse it doesn't work that way. It's always that's the guy you want to get out. And I think it's fair to say, like, if Seattle's coaching staff, I know the Eagles have a great coaching staff, but if Seattle's coaching staff was frustrated with him, it to me signals that there's probably going to be some frustrations with him here. But I will say this, he's the number 2 corner here. Seattle has Devin Witherspoon. He's a really, really good player, but here I would say you're not under the microscope because you've got Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, right? And we'll see Makuba. So I don't think the eyes will be on him to be a superstar. He just has to be better than Adoree Jackson.
And I think a lot of people anticipate that it would. Why? Because everybody remembers Adoree on opening night and then doesn't remember any other game of the season. He actually kind of played well as the season went on, but it's opening night. He did not play well, and that's all we remember. So he stunk last year, right?
Yeah, well, sort of, right. And it didn't help that the Eagles were basically trying to replace him at every single juncture of the season, including a Jair Alexander who couldn't even get on the field, right? I mean, the Eagles, in fairness to the fan, the Eagles were also trying to say, can we please try to get somebody better than Adoree Jackson? But I think in fairness to Adoree, he did play better as the season went along. So, again, if Reek Woolen could – but here's the thing about Adoree. Very mature, smart guy, understands his assignments. Like his issues at this point were his age and his talent level. And, we saw that at times getting burned and everything like that. But you didn't have to worry about lapses per se or immaturity or things like that.
All right, Jeff Mosher, football at 4. Reek Woolen is now here. He gets a 1-year deal. It's up to $15 million. We'll see how he fits in with Vic Fangio. So the other moves I thought were interesting last night. I want to get your take on these. They signed Johnny Munt, a blocking tight end. He knows Sean Mannion. They then follow that up by bringing back Grant Calcaterra. I thought this is the interesting part. Do you think that they like Calcaterra enough as a pass catcher, not as a blocker? Obviously, he struggled in that role. But if, hey, you're the pass catcher, the other guy, we now got a run blocker, we are okay with Calcaterra, maybe drafting a guy and developing him, but Calcaterra, you'll be the main pass catcher for a heck of a lot less than Goddard.
So did you say main pass catcher from the tight end position?
Like he would be your pass catching tight end, and Johnny Munt's the blocker, and then you draft a guy, and then maybe halfway through the season, if he's coming on, or even if he beats Calcaterra out. But in lieu of paying someone $10 million to play tight end.
Right. I think I'm in the middle with what you're saying. I mean, I think the reality of the situation is with Goddard probably not coming back here, they had nobody under contract other than Cam Latu, right? So to your point, you need a guy who knows the system. Amazingly, Johnny Munt was with the Vikings when Mannion was a quarterback there. So there's a guy who comes in and does take care of that blocking element that you need. And then I think what the Eagles are trying to do, Mike, is make sure they have bodies at that position and also not spend anything that's going to cancel out any comp picks that they're going to get. So you never get dinged in the comp pick formula when you bring back your own guys, even if they hit free agency, which he did not technically. There will no be he's a body. He gives them depth. They really only have 3 tight ends under contract right now, or by tomorrow, which will be Munt, it'll be Calcaterra, and it'll be Cam Latu, who obviously has not proven much in this league. although I would like to see him used more. They do have EJ Jenkins and Jaheim Bell, but those guys are kind of fringe players fighting to make the team. So to me, it was more of an opportunity at that low price to bring in a guy, yes, who can be a pass catching tight end, but they're going to have to draft there. They're absolutely going to have to draft at that position. And I still think they have to make modest moves there, to your point. Could he emerge as, I would think if he has to emerge as your top pass catcher, then it's not a great thing, to be honest with you. And, you're hoping that you draft high and get a guy who can come play right away.
That's where, they've seen him for the last 4 years. He's never really been given the opportunity, but I got to imagine they've seen him in practice and think, hey, this guy could catch the ball. He could probably get some yards after the catch. If we don't ask him to block, maybe we can have him for, I don't know, what did he get paid, do you know?
Well, it's a 1-year deal, so I'm going to imagine it's one of those, $900K guarantee, something like that.
So instead of paying a guy $10 million, you're paying this guy less than $1 million. He catches 3 to 4 passes. He gets 40, 50 yards. The other guy blocks. I don't know, how big of a role the tight end has in Sean Mannion's offense.
Well, that's where I'm wondering, and we have to see is what happens to AJ Brown. B, how do they remake the wide receiver position? Because they need bodies, they need depth, they need to get more from a slot receiver. They just need more than just 2 guys hauling it all. And the purpose of this offense is to be able to get guys in space and, make them productive. So to your point, that is an area where I thought Grant Calcaterra 2 years ago, when he had to fill in for a couple of games for Goddard, did a nice job. Now he's kind of a catch the ball and turn around and run if he can guy. I mean, he's not going to break a lot of tackles. I mean, he can run in space, so he does fit the offense, but he's also, he's had his concussions. Yeah, I still think he has to make this team based on whatever moves left that the Eagles are going to be making at that position. But yeah, there could be some value at that price, especially if he gets in there for a few snaps and catches the ball.
Right, exactly. It's you can't pay everybody. We have a guy we're familiar with. We got a guy that can now block. Maybe these 2 guys can hold it down. We draft a guy, in the second round. He gets up to speed, and boom, that's how we go. We'll see. Reed Blankenship, he obviously leaves. How do you foresee now, with what we know, that safety position evolving moving forward here?
Yeah, and there are a couple of safeties who've flown off the board lately. So I mean, you're looking at the available safeties now, and I just put it up on Philly Voice. I did a little who are the best available at certain positions, and safety is one of them. There's still some interesting names, but they're going to be, remember, they're not trying to make the type of signing, right, that's going to cancel out what they're probably going to, what I can't see it not being a 3rd round pick. The number 1 overall compensatory pick next year in 2027 for losing Jalen Phillips is such a big deal. So you're looking at Kyle Duggar. Andre Sisco is kind of interesting to me because he was hurt last year with the Jets, but he's been a decent safety throughout his career with the Jags. He was a real ball hawk at Syracuse, had 13 interceptions in 3 years. There's your old reliables like Jordan Poyer and Donovan Wilson. There's Geno Stone and Ashton Davis. Davis was overdrafted by Joe Douglas with the Jets, so there's some familiarity there. But that's what we're looking at. I mean, if you're not going to pay $8 million roughly to keep Reed Blankenship, then you're not going to go out and sign, Andre Sisco for $10 million. You know what I'm saying? They're looking for that. By the way, I do believe that not only they will get bodies here, but I do believe Michael Carter II, coming back on that revised contract, will get a chance to compete for that job. He was a safety in college. He's a very good nickel at one time for the Jets until they changed their defense. He came here and immediately got on the field as a 3rd safety or a big nickel, 2nd interior slot guy. So I think that there's a chance he can compete for that job. And then there's always, do they move Cooper DeJean there? Although I would put that lower on the totem pole.
Okay, so let's get to the craziness that happened yesterday, in which Baltimore backs out of the deal for Max Crosby yesterday.
Yeah.
Then this morning they pivot and give $27 million a year to Trey Hendrickson. Number one, Hendrickson now makes less than Phillips. I think that's interesting. And then 2, the fallout of Crosby going back and what that could mean for Philadelphia looking to replace Phillips.
Yeah. I mean, I know, obviously, my colleague Jimmy Kemsky reported that they took a swing there at Hendrickson. I don't know, how big of a swing it was, but they took a swing. Now, I don't, the recent reports are that the Raiders are just going to wind up holding on to Max Crosby, which is going to be an awesome look back. I mean, with all the moves they've made to get into Kobe Dean, to get Quay Walker, kept Eric Stokes, they're going to draft Mendoza, right? You got Genti in year 2 with a better offensive line, Colton Miller. Watch the Raiders go win like double-digit games, and then like Max Crosby was a big reason for that. That would be a very funny look back. But the Eagles definitely need to do something here at the edges, Mike, and I don't know what it is at this point.
So, there was some reports that they would have been interested in Crosby had they lost Phillips. Well, Crosby got traded.
Right.
Does Howie now call, and is he –
Oh, I'm sure.
You're not getting 2 first-round picks for him now, right?
I mean, I'm sure I don't know if he was going to give up 2 first-round picks in the first place. So we'll see. To me, it's a fascinating story, but if the Raiders are going to hold on to, I don't know if I would imagine some of those Raiders are going to hold on to him reports are to fend off all the people now calling the Raiders trying to offer like a 6th and a 7th for Max Crosby, Howie. So we'll see what happens there. You just know this. Howie's not going to go into the season this barren at the edge position. He'll do something.
I agree. All right. Adam Schefter, about half an hour ago, said, quote, they would rather not move him, even though he would like to be moved, and they are not going to move him until they get what they feel is a fair price. That is the very latest on A.J. Brown. Has anything changed in your mind on A.J. Brown and whether he will be here or moved?
No, I still think that if there's some team that can work with the Eagles on what they're looking for, and I don't think the Patriots signing Romeo Doubs makes them like, all right, we survived the loss of Stephon Diggs, who had a really good year for them last year. I think they need more, especially you don't want to come back equal or just the same as you were last year. You want to get better. So I would still keep them very much alive in the sweepstakes until it's officially over.
All right, that's obviously something everybody's keeping an eye on. Jalen Carter's name, they were getting calls. It doesn't mean they wanted to trade him, but
right.
Do you think they are closer to working on an extension for Jalen Carter?
Yeah, they should be. I think they have to figure out what's going to happen with the A.J. Brown situation first. And, I also think they've got to make sure that Jalen Carter, with his shoulder issues that he had last year, I know he's been working somewhere in South Jersey, I believe, really hard on getting those things rehabbed and getting them right for the next season. So that's going to be a big part of it too. And, Adam and I talked about this on the pod a couple of days ago. Whenever you see a guy that talented and he doesn't have the extension yet, and the Eagles are known for doing them quickly, that always is going to invite people to call like, hey, what's going on there? Is this guy available? And then reports come out. It would be very surprising to me. I'm not ruling it out, but it would be surprising to me if he got traded.
Jeff Mosher's with us. Jordan Davis, he did get introduced today at a press conference about his new contract there. So Jordan Davis, he said he didn't expect Jalen Carter to show up. Carter was there, and we'll see what ends up happening with Carter as he was there to kind of embrace his new teammate who is now higher paid than he is. That will be something to keep an eye on as well. Sam Howell, by the way, the backup quarterback, or actually the third quarterback, he signed in Dallas. Also, Matt Pryor, who was kind of a disappointment here, he has signed in Arizona, so he's gone. Brett Toth, he was another guy who, we've talked a lot about Toth. He actually was one of the more productive backup linemen. They're going to have some work to do on reshaping this offensive line, at least the depth.
Yeah, so him signing with the Niners, right, is a validation of what we thought and said on Inside the Birds, and that when you put him at left guard and ask him to like run up the middle and double team 3 techniques or even single block, you're not using him correct. That's not his strength. He is a athletic guy who you want moving horizontally, like this new Eagles offense is going to do with the wider zone or the outside zone. And so we thought he would fit well, because when he moved to center, if you remember in that game that they won against the Giants, they did run outside. They kicked him out a little bit more. You saw him have some pretty big blocks in the second level, right? And so I thought he would be a key guy. in some respects, a key depth guy for the Eagles to maybe want to bring back on the cheap. But the fact that the Niners signed him, I thought, is pretty interesting because that does go to show that is the kind of offense where his strengths are going to be better capitalized.
And one thing, Jeff, it's 20 after 4. If you're listening live, if you're listening in the best of the Sports Bash, it's probably 20 after 6. But
what time does the worst of the Sports Bash come on? Because that's usually
the whole 4 hours.
Oh,
right? The guys who were not free agents, but teams are now releasing, you're getting a new wave of free agents that are starting to come out there. Javon Hargrave is one.
Yep.
We've seen being released. So there could be another group of players that emerge on the free agent market here, between now and by the time you hear this in the best of the Sports Bash.
Oh, yeah, and you got to keep your eyes on Bradley Chubb. I don't know if he's been officially released yet by the Dolphins, but they are going to, and that would be a perfect signing for the Eagles because, again, when you sign a guy who gets released as opposed to having their contract expire, then it doesn't count against the comp pick for you. Could pay him $300 billion, and it's not going to cancel out any of your comp pick formula. Right. So, and plus he played for Vic. I mean, he's a big guy, been to the Pro Bowl twice. I mean, he's ideal.
By the way, some of those names are starting to come out. Josh Paschal, the defensive end from the Lions, he has been released. Kyler Murray, the quarterback, of course, he has been released. Kirk Cousins, he has been released. Jake Browning, the backup quarterback, he is going to Tampa Bay. Also released here moments ago, Harrison Smith. So there's another safety that hits the market. So you'll start to see some names that will now enter the free agent mix as well. Football at
Harrison
4, of course.
Harrison Smith is so old, he might be hosting the best of the Sports Bash next year. He had a great career, though.
37 years old.
He had a great career.
Yes. The names that are going to be, Javon Hargrave, we just mentioned him. He has been, by the way, Azeez Ojulari. Yep. He is heading to Atlanta with the Falcons. So there's a former Eagle that has got a new home as well. Good stuff. All right, Moshe, don't forget to check out all his stuff over at phillyvoice.com. And the podcast with Adam and Jeff, the Inside the Birds podcast over at insidethebirds.com. Andrew's on tomorrow. Adam's back on Friday. Jeff, have a great rest of the week.
Thanks, you too, Mike. Be good.
All right, there's Jeff Mosher, and, of course, all the Inside the Birds fans out there. We appreciate you watching the show on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. And, of course, if you're listening on the X platform, at Mike Gill Show. When we come back, what is up with Max Crosby? What about Nakobe Dean? Does Dean now go back to the market? Do the Raiders move on from that move because of Crosby? Do they look to trade Crosby? What can they get for Crosby? My guy Q Myers from Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, ESPN Radio, and Raider Nation Radio in Vegas will join us on the other side as we take a look at what happened in the NFL over the last 24 hours. Stick around. It's the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and live video streaming on the X platform and on YouTube. 97.3 ESPN. Hey, Corey in Seaville, Trevor in Sicklerville, David in Northfield, and Douglas in Little Egg Harbor. You guys all qualified today. And don't forget, if you're watching the show live on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel, you have a bonus chance to enter right now. All the directions are on the video screen. So go to the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel if you want to enter for the bus trip to Baltimore right now, and all the directions are on the screen. If you're on the radio, listen for that contest sounder. It's coming up. 4:30 straight up, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. The free agency continues. Not a lot happening as the official start of free agency is underway, but a lot of news to discuss. Now, I went on Raider Nation Radio last night right when I got off the air. I was asked about Nakobe Dean going to the Raiders. And I talked about how much I like what's going on with the Raiders. They got Tyler Lindenbaum. I like that move. Love Dean going there. They trade Max Crosby. They get these 2 picks. It seems like everything's going well for the Raiders. But the Ravens ruined the party, or did they? Q Myers is the host of Game Night, heard nationally right here on 97.3 ESPN and Raider Nation Radio in Vegas. What happened? What is going on here, man? How is this being received in the Raider Nation?
Not very well. Not very well at all. It's always great to be on the show with you, Mike. Thanks so much. Yeah, it didn't go over very well. Raider Nation was angry about it, as you could imagine, last night. Of course, the news dropped at 4:58 p.m. locally, my time, and I signed off my show locally at 4:57. So, of course, everybody waited until I was off the air, not realizing that I had a game night to do on ESPN Radio, as you mentioned. So I was able to talk about it there. But, yeah, man, it was just so wild. And Raider Nation was like, they couldn't believe it. I literally got a phone call. And, Mike, you know, I mean, we normally get a lot of text messages. We don't get a lot of calls. I got a phone call as soon as I signed off and said goodnight. And it's from one of my buddies. I was like, hey, what's up? He's like, tell me this ain't true. I was like, man, I didn't know what happened, man. I thought something happened with his family or something. I was like, what's up? He's like, I got this notification that the Raiders said that Baltimore is backing out of the trade for Max Crosby. I was like, nah, that's got to be some fake stuff. And then I looked at Twitter and I was like, or not. Okay. So, yeah, that's how it all started. And that was the reaction of not only one member of Raider Nation, but pretty much everybody.
So what happens next? I mean, obviously the Raiders put out a pretty terse statement. They're not happy. Do they keep Crosby? Do they try to trade him? Does his value get diminished? I mean, how do you see the next steps for Max? Does he want to be there now that they've actually got their bleep together, it seems like?
I think it's all of the above. To be honest, as silly as that sounds, he was in the building today at 6 a.m. continuing his rehab. You know, he put out the statement basically that, you know, God doesn't make mistakes and all things happen for a reason. Today, he's celebrating 6 years of sobriety. So, I mean, that's obviously a great thing for him. I just think that, you know, the Raiders probably will continue to listen to offers. But what you said about it, does his value diminish? Absolutely. Right? I mean, his value has to diminish. It has to go down some. There's no way that a team is going to say, well, they were going to give 2 first-round picks, and then they said that he failed a physical, and we're going to go 2 first-round picks. Like, that's not going to happen. Not to mention their first-round pick's not going to be number 14 overall, which was a huge get for the Raiders. It was huge to be able to get a pick in the top 15 after you know you're already going to land Fernando Mendoza at number 1. But
right, you're talking on your show for the last, 4 days about, I mean, obviously it happened on the weekend. So for the first 2 days, man, you got Mendoza, and then what can we get at 14? This has shifted everything and the domino effects. I mean, I guess you would know this more than us, but, we're talking about Nakobe Dean. Some people are wondering, well, does Dean go back to free agency and land in Dallas, or is he a guy that stays in Vegas?
Well, everything I've heard is they're going to fulfill every deal that they agree to, including Nakobe Dean. So it sounds like because they did have so much money, I mean, they had so much salary cap space that, it sounds like that they do have the chance to go ahead and fulfill all those and bring Max Crosby back and still have some cap space. Again, it does change everything, right? It changes a lot of outlooks. It changes the way that certain teams would have operated if they known that Baltimore wasn't going to trade for Max Crosby, and a team like the Bears might have ponied up whatever they were trying to give up to get him. Dallas may have still been in pursuit of him. There's a lot of different scenarios that are in play, but ultimately, just from the Raiders standpoint, they operate, as they were operating before they made the agreement to trade for him or trade him. They're saying that they planned on him playing for the Raiders in 2026. They're operating like that right now. I'm sure if a team comes their way and says, hey, we'll give you a first-round pick and maybe a conditional second, conditional third, whatever the case may be, and they want to go ahead and move forward and say Max decides he still wants to go, then they'll do it. If not, Mike, you're looking at a team that's a lot better, at least on paper today, than they were on Friday when the deal was announced.
No doubt. No doubt.
You know what I mean? So he might say, actually, it's not that bad over here. We might actually be able to win in a couple years.
That's what I was saying. Is like hey, we got our bleep together finally out here. And I liked it here. It wasn't like I hated this place.
Right.
By the way, some breaking news. If you were looking for an edge rusher and you want to replace Jalen Phillips or you want to try to get involved with Max Crosby, Bradley Chubb was cut 1 minute and then signed for $52 million the next minute. He gets $29 million guaranteed and is going to the Buffalo Bills. So he stays in the division there, and things get interesting because all of a sudden that takes another edge rusher off the board. So I don't know if the Raiders say, well, could have had Bradley Chubb. You missed out there. You want to come call us? I feel like this is fascinating all of a sudden. And then the Trey Hendrickson thing.
Yep.
He ends up going to Baltimore. This is really dirty play.
Dirty play. Dirty. It's and I was talking about it last night on game night. I said this doesn't pass the smell test. Like we all knew, Mike, when we were in San Francisco at the Super Bowl at the Moscone Center, we all knew, we were talking about then that Max just had a surgery. There's no way if he gets a trade, like someone wants to trade for him, he could pass a physical right now. He can't. It wasn't arthroscopic. It was a meniscus repair. So he's not going to be ready. I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor, but we already knew he wasn't going to be ready till at least June. So when the Baltimore Ravens come back and say, well, he failed a physical, well, no kidding. He wasn't going to pass it to begin with, but that was what you already took on, knowing that he was coming off that. It's not like it was something brand new. So now not only do you make the Raiders look like liars, like they didn't disclose everything, you make Max Crosby look like he's a liar and he didn't disclose everything, and then you diminish his value out there for the Raiders to go out and get some real draft capital in return for him. And it's like, okay, so now what? Right. And so it's bad news. And then you turn around and you sign Trey Hendrickson for the same exact deal that's left on Max's contract. 4 years, $116 million, which could be $120 million, $60 million guaranteed, which, oh, by the way, on Max's contract would have been guaranteed on Saturday. Like, that's not a coincidence.
No.
So
it's
a Ryan Grant, Michael Crabtree situation.
Well, and listen, the Eagles made a trade with Baltimore at the trade deadline. They got Jair Alexander, and then the guy retired. You know, in good faith, they're saying his medical's clear from our point of view. We just weren't using him. They trade him to Philadelphia. The guy retires in 11 days. So Baltimore's going to reap what they sow at some point here.
I would think so. But, you know, at this stage of the game, it hasn't burnt them. Now, I think Max is a better player than Trey Hendrickson, all-around better player. I know Trey can get to the quarterback. I'm not going to doubt that, but just all-around better player, staying on the field longer. I think that he can do that in a major way. And, oh, by the way, Max is a couple years younger as well. So we'll see how this thing all plays out. But they lost a ton of guys in free agency, including Tyler Linderbaum, who agreed to a deal with the Raiders. And I think they looked at it and said, man, our roster is diminished. We don't have 2 first-round picks. We're paying this guy a lot of money. He's not going to be ready till June. And there's a guy out there in Trey Hendrickson that's available where his price tag's not as high as we thought it was going to be. And, oh, by the way, we don't have to give up any draft capital for him.
As high as we thought it was going to be. That's the key, because these guys were both available on Friday night when they made the trade. So what happened between Friday night when the trade happened and then yesterday when they make the decision to move on? That, to me, is the head-scratcher there. We're talking with Q Myers. He's the host of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. You can hear that weeknights at 10 o'clock here and all across the country. All right, so the Hendrickson move this morning goes to Baltimore. Crosby's back with the Raiders. As we talk, Jalen Phillips, he gets $30 million to go to Carolina. You know, how does Philadelphia look for an edge rusher, Q? There's not a heck of a lot out there. So would you think they're in play for Max Crosby?
Oh, I have no doubt about it, man. Howie Roseman trying to wheel and deal. Never heard of that before, right? Yeah, of course. I definitely think that they're in play for Max, but what are they willing to give up? And what are the Raiders willing to accept?
What do you now think the Raiders do? They say, you know what? We got him back. We love what we were able to get. We want him here. Or do you think they're still looking? We talked about it on your show last night. They might be 2 years away, and then he's in his early 30s. Do they still want to trade him now?
I would think so if the price is right. That's the biggest key right there. If the price is right. If you're going to get 1 first rounder and something, and it's really good, like maybe a 3rd round pick that's conditional, maybe a really good player. I know you're not getting 2 first round picks, right? I mean, that's just not going to happen. But if you can get something that you feel comfortable with, I think the Raiders would still be comfortable with moving them. But if they feel like that they're getting shortchanged, or they're giving them away at the dollar store, I don't think they're going to do it. But the two guys I identified were Howie Roseman and John Schneider that I definitely thought were going to be in play once this was all said and done.
Well, with Bradley Chubb going off the board, that makes it more possible. By the way, apparently, according to reports, the Eagles have made calls for Jonathan Grenard, the defensive end edge rusher from the Minnesota Vikings. So they still need an edge rusher because Jalen Phillips is out. And obviously, what'd you think of the Eagles getting Woolen here? 1 year, it's up to $15 million. And it seems that a lot of people are very intrigued by this move. He's a young guy still in his prime. He's not one of these free agents that are in his 30s. He's still 27 years old.
I think it's a really good prove-it deal for him, a guy that's shown that he could play at a high level, but he also kind of slipped a little bit at Seattle, right? I mean, you saw what he did last year. He had hot and cold moments, and matter of fact, he probably had way more cold moments than he should have had. So I think this is one of those, hey, man, we still believe in you. We think you can play at a high level. We're giving you a decent amount of money here. 1 year, $15 million is up to $15 million is nothing to shake a stick at. But you're going to have to earn a long-term deal. You're going to have to be on your A game. And what better place to do it than Philadelphia? I think it's a really good deal. It's funny, as soon as you wrapped up yesterday on the show is when that got announced. And I remember you had mentioned, well, they still need a corner help. Philly needs corner help. And then all of a sudden, boom, that help came in. So we'll see if he could be that guy. But you know how players are on one-year contracts, those prove-it deals. A lot of times you get the best play out of those guys.
I agree with that. Kyler Murray, he is officially released. Kirk Cousins is released. I always find the quarterback carousel to be very interesting. Your guy, Geno Smith, goes to the Jets, so I would imagine the Jets are out on quarterback frenzy here. But Murray or Cousins, which guy would you pursue?
I think the Raiders are going to go after Kirk Cousins. I just don't know who Kirk Cousins thinks he is at this stage of the game. Is he a quarterback that could be a starting quarterback in the league for multiple years, or is he a bridge? If he understands he's a bridge, I think there'll be multiple suitors for him. But if he thinks he's a long-term starter, I think he has to think again, right? There's a reason why Atlanta drafted his replacement even after they signed him to a free agent deal. I think if you're Minnesota, you're probably calling Kyler Murray because you feel like he's got more to give for multiple years. But if you're a team that just wants a guy to be a bridge, maybe a one-year guy maximum, that's where you go after Kirk Cousins, similar to what Atlanta did with Tua, where they gave him a shot at the one-year deal because they don't know what they have in Michael Penix or if they have anything in Michael Penix coming off that torn ACL.
All right, there are some reports, and I don't know if it's happened while we're having this conversation. I haven't seen anything yet, that the Niners are going to release Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
Is this going to be an intriguing one if he hits the open market? Because you got these A.J. Brown stuff, and you know,
he's a head case, man. He's a head case. He's at least A.J. Brown. He could be a head case, but he's got production. Brandon Ayuk just seems like a head case. Like, I could deal with you if you're worth the squeeze, like the juice worth the squeeze. I could deal with it. But if it's Brandon Ayuk, who remember he sat out, he held out because he wanted a contract extension. Then he tears his ACL. Then all of a sudden things go sideways with the 49ers. They didn't want to keep him, and everything is just like really weird with him. And then the way that everything played out last year, he's driving by the facility and he's not, he's like MIA. He's just no. Like, that's the last guy that you want to bring into your organization. You don't want that.
It was bonkers stuff there. All right, Q Myers, game night. I guess you were on the air last night when this 83-point historic night happened. Are you impressed or embarrassed?
Both. If you get 83 points, I got to give you props. I can't take that away. Bam Adebayo, he's not some prolific scorer, so he scores 83 points. That's great. Look, he had 70 at one point. I remember looking up saying, man, he might hit 80, right? He's already at 70 points. But it was at the end. It was the effort by the Heat at the very end, and I guess that's their job. But, I mean, fouling the Wizards when you're up 20-something points just to get extra possessions, to get him to the free throw line and try to get more points, that was the part to me where I was like, yeah, two 80-plus point performances aren't created equal. Like, Kobe was trying to help the Lakers come back from being down, and it was like, give me the ball, get out the way, I got this. And then Bam was like, hey, I'm just going to try to score as many points as I can to break Kobe's record. And so they weren't quite created equal. They're still very impressive. I mean, anytime you score 83 points in a basketball game that's only 4 quarters is impressive, but they won by 20-something. And so it just felt like, it's a little icky, but I don't want to take that away from Bam Adebayo. That'll probably be the only time in his career he gets anywhere close to 83 points. So just let him appreciate that.
Yeah, the 43 free throws. He only averages 4.8 free throws per game.
Exactly.
That, to me, made this a circus situation. All right, I want to get how you perceive what happened in the WBC with DeRosa. Now, he goes on MLB Network and basically says, we've advanced.
Right.
They then put a lineup together, which, let's be honest, it doesn't matter what their lineup was. They were still better than Italy and should have won the game.
Right.
I have to imagine, Q, somebody heard him on that interview and had to have told him, hey, you didn't clinch already. And he was like, what's the difference? We're playing Italy, and just didn't care. I look at this more as arrogance than ignorance.
It feels like that. It really does. And I know what he's come out and said and that he misspoke and he didn't understand. But I'm with you. I'm right down that. It's like arrogance where he just, he might have misspoke, but then, like you said, didn't care that he misspoke and decided, oh, no big deal. We're going to wax them anyway. Right. And so it's just a bad look, especially to a game and a classic that I think is exciting and entertaining that I really feel like the USA should win. So I want to see how this thing plays out. But I just think that was a huge misstep. A bad thing for him not to know that they weren't already clinched. And then a bad performance on top of that. And like I said, just kind of whatever. It's not going to matter. We're going to win anyway, which they ultimately probably will. But still, it wasn't a good look.
Well, we don't know. I mean, obviously, they need Italy to either win the game tonight. Now, Aaron Nola, Phillies pitcher, is pitching tonight.
Yep.
So there's a lot of here. But to me, this is, even if DeRosa didn't know, and maybe he didn't. It sounded like he didn't. It sounded like, look, we beat Mexico. We partied it up.
Yep.
Guys were hungover, and they thought they advanced. He goes on Hot Stove. He says, well, we've already advanced, and, I want to get some guys off their feet. Somebody says to him, yo, dude, you haven't advanced yet. You know that, right? Oh,
right.
Man, whatever. We're playing Italy. And they go out there and get waxed.
Yeah.
Like, they lose to a team that's a bunch of pizza makers.
Exactly. Yeah, it shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened. And maybe because they partied, like you said, maybe that's who they had to put out there. Maybe they all were still, feeling that kind of way.
I can verify this. One guy who was not drinking is Bryce Harper. He does not drink. So if you're going to put somebody in the lineup, he would have been one guy that you would say, all right, now that this game means something, I know he had. So I don't know. The whole thing was a mess. I'm not a big WBC guy because of these wonky rules. You had pitch counts.
Yeah.
I went to Croatia on vacation a couple of years ago. Am I eligible to play for the Croatian team? You know what I mean?
That'd be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool, though. Hey, sign me up for that. I'd watch the game. I'd watch your performance.
Did you see the guy? He was like an electrician, and he was out there pitching against Japan.
He struck out Shohei, though.
Yeah, well, he throws about as hard as I do.
Well, I mean, hey, look, man, if I strike out Shohei anyway, you can't tell me nothing, right?
Well, last night in the game, it's 8-0. They're down. He's got – who knew Clayton Kershaw was even on the team? Kershaw looked like he had a couple meals since his retirement. He's out there warming up. In the game, it's 8-0, and people are like, dude, you can't keep giving up runs in this game here. It was a bizarre situation, but a fun night of sports all over, from the NFL free agency to 83 points to USA, getting upset by Italy. You heard it all on Game Night with Q Myers. He'll be back tonight at 10 o'clock right here on 97.3 ESPN. Q, pleasure as always, pal.
Hey, man, it's always great. Thanks so much for having me on. Appreciate you.
All right, we'll see what ends up happening with Max Crosby. He will keep us aware of that. If something happens, Q and Game Night will have that right here on 97.3 ESPN. I am Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. And don't forget, if you're watching the show live on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel, which, by the way, we have a massive viewing audience right now on YouTube. We appreciate everybody on YouTube and on X who are watching the show live. And those people have a bonus chance to enter. If you are watching the show on X or YouTube, follow directions on the screen, and it will give you a bonus entry for a chance to win tickets to see the Phillies and Orioles. Just for watching the show live on YouTube or X, you have a bonus chance to enter to win the trip to go see the Phillies play the Orioles in Baltimore. On the radio side, we have this. Caller 7, 609-573-56 3776. Caller 7 right now. You are entered to win a pair of tickets to see the Phillies-Orioles at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. You'll win a trip to see the Phillies-Orioles game on Friday, July 31st. How do you win? Well, step number 1, be caller 7 right now, 609-573-3776. Step number 2, you must be present to win at the Anchorage in Summers Point, 823 Bay Avenue, for our Phillies opening day watch party. Wear your Phillies gear and come on out and watch the Phils, and we'll be giving away this trip to go see the Phillies-Orioles play in Baltimore at Camden Yards. Caller 7 right now. Good luck. All right, 5 o'clock hour, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. How y'all doing out there? Congratulations to all the qualifiers for today's opportunity to win that trip to go see the Phillies play in Baltimore against the Orioles. Phillies were off today, so no Phils. You had the WBC last night. USA loses to Italy. Now, I think I could probably put together an all-star high school team and probably could give Italy a game. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'm not giving Italy enough credit. Michael Lorenzen did throw a Major League no-hitter. That being said, they scored 8 runs off your pitching last night. Nolan McLean, the Mets' young pitcher. There was a play in the game, Phillies pitcher Brad Keller, he threw a ball away. It was just a joke at one point. There was a lot of reporting out there that, they had been maybe a little, had a little bit too much to drink the night before after beating Mexico. And then they thought that they had already punched their ticket into the next round and then realized, we need to try to play this game. It seems like the one guy who did show up was Pete Crow Armstrong, who tried to drag the team back in. But now the United States will have to rely on the Italians to beat Mexico today. Aaron Nola will get the start for Italy. And there's a lot of scenarios that go into play here. It goes into with like runs against. And boy, oh boy, it just turned into a debacle, though, because Mark DeRosa, the manager of the team, he went on Hot Stove yesterday and basically kind of admitted that he didn't know what the tie-breaking situation was. So here are the tie-breaking scenarios for today. If Italy wins versus Mexico, Italy and USA will advance to the quarterfinals, and Mexico will be out. If Mexico beats Italy and scores 5 or more runs, so let's say Mexico beats Italy 5-0, Mexico and USA will advance. Italy will be out. Let's say Mexico does beat Italy, but the score is 4-0. Mexico and Italy will advance to the quarterfinals, and the United States would be out. So there are 2 scenarios for the United States to advance. There is one scenario that they would be bounced. So they still do have an opportunity to advance here. But here is what Mark DeRosa told the MLB Network yesterday. This was earlier in the morning on Hot Stove.
I'm going to get some guys off their feet, no question about it. I'd like to get Goldie a start, and he has been awesome, just a leader of men behind the scenes with Aaron Judge. I'd like to get him in there. I'd like to get Gunnar in there again. Ton of respect for Italy. It's weird. We want to win. We want to win this game, even though our tickets punched to the quarterfinals, because Mexico plays Italy actually tomorrow. So the way the schedule lines up, this is an important game for us. Nolan McLean will start. He's on the bump and he's good to go.
It sounds as he was saying that, though, he was unsure. Even though we punched our ticket, this is an important game for us. It was just a bizarre situation. He starts out by saying we want to get some guys off their feet, and then he wanted to get some guys an opportunity to play. Now, keep in mind, you got an all-star team and an all-star roster. These guys are getting away from spring training with their teams. They don't want to sit on the bench the whole time. So if they made the commitment to play, I guess DeRosa saying, look, I got to get some of these guys playing time because there is a possibility, that we get into the knockout round and they don't get any playing time, so now's the opportunity to do it. Was DeRosa here was DeRosa that obtuse that he didn't know the rules? That is one of the things we've been kind of looking at throughout the day. You can hit us up on the White Horse RV text board, 609-403-0973, because I think even if DeRosa didn't know, and I'm not debating whether he knew or not, there's a good, it's plausible that he did not know. He had to have been told and then decided, it doesn't matter to me. I'm still going to start these guys because we're better than Italy. And that's the way that I see that thing going down here. So you could look at it a total blunder from all over the place, but by the time first pitch happened last night, he knew the scenario, did he not? He didn't go into that game without anybody telling him, yo, Skip, we can't advance if we lose. There's a chance we don't advance if we lose this game, right? Oh, yeah, I knew that already. Or did he go into that game so obtuse that he did not know? I cannot buy that one for 1 second. There is not a scenario that you can come up with for me. Does DeRosa, is DeRosa on social media?
That's a good question. Let me double check that.
Because I would imagine if he said that on MLB Hot Stove and he was wrong, that people would have gone on social media and messaged him like, hey, DeRosa, you didn't automatically advance here. You have to win this game, and then you would advance. But the way that he mapped it out was, well, we know we've already punched our ticket into the next round, but this is an important game for us. And then after the game, this is where this whole thing got way out of control, because here's what ends up happening. After the game, he gets asked about it, and he admits. Now, I don't know what he's trying to say here. Let's play this bite here and see what he's trying to say.
Yeah, I misspoke. I was on Hot Stove with a couple buddies today and completely misread the calculations. We knew that Mexico was going to play Italy and then running all the numbers with if we lost tonight with the runs allowed and runs scored and outs. So I just misspoke.
So he's saying I just misspoke. That we knew that Mexico was playing Italy and, with all that. So did he actually know the situation? Because he said I just misspoke.
By the way, so I double-checked Mark DeRosa. So he has not posted anything on X since July of 2025. He hasn't posted anything on Instagram in about 3 years.
Okay, so he doesn't do a lot
So
of
he is
social
not
media.
an active social media guy in any sense of the word.
Okay, so if I was to say, hey, he's on social media, people could have posted to him and he would have known it. Maybe he doesn't check his social
But they're
media.
posting anyway.
Okay, I'm just saying.
His last post on Instagram has a ton of comments that happened in the last day.
My point being, even if you convince me, okay, Josh, even if you convince me that not one of his players, not one of his assistant coaches, nobody in USA Baseball, or any other person that he knows, if you convince me that between the time he got off that interview and showed up to the ballpark last night, nobody told him, I have a hard time with that.
I feel pretty confident saying somebody told him.
Yes.
I don't think
Because he said in that bite, after the game he was asked, he says, I misspoke. He's like,
Right.
I was on the show with a couple of buddies. We knew that
he's
Italy.
been informed.
Exactly. So that's where I go back to. This was just ignorance on his part. Arrogance and ignorance that we're the United States, they're Italy, there's no way they're going to beat us. And he lost. And he lost the game. Now, is it his fault that they lost the game because he sat a couple of his guys? I have a hard time with that. This is on the players. You lost to Italy, that's your fault.
Not just lost to Italy, but you were down 8-0 at one point.
Well, and that's the thing. He pitched Nolan McLean. It's not like he threw a stiff. Like,
Right.
if he would have started Kershaw, not that Kershaw's a stiff, but come on.
He's way past his
He's
prime.
way past his prime. Like, if he says, hey, let's just get Kershaw a start here because, he's here. He started Nolan McLean.
Right, he started the young stud.
And he got crushed. You can't tell me that the lineup they put out there last night was not good enough to beat Michael Lorenzen. And by the way, does anybody know any of the guys that came out of the bullpen for them other than the Red Sox guy?
Nope.
And so you could make an argument that, okay, he didn't know the rules. Someone told him the rules. He still decided, you know what? We're playing Italy. What's the difference? Let's get these guys some at-bats. We're not going to lose to this team. And that's how it happened. So, I don't know. I think DeRosa looks like a boob in this situation. I mean, just looks like a complete dunce. But he didn't lose him the game. Do you agree with that?
I don't think DeRosa overtly lost them the game, but maybe in spirit he did because of the fact that if the leader is the guy walking in with the laissez-faire, laid back, it's whatever. We're advancing to the next round anyway.
I have a hard time with that, though, and I'll tell you why. Look at my lineup, okay? My lineup is Bobby Witt Jr., Gunnar Henderson, Aaron Judge, Kyle Schwarber, Will Smith, the MVP of the World Series, by the way, Roman Anthony, Paul Goldschmidt, Ernie Clement, and Pete Crow Armstrong. By the way, Pete Crow Armstrong had 2 homers in the game.
He played well.
He started over Buxton.
He's the only guy who played well, really.
Goldschmidt, by the way, who started over Bryce Harper, had a hit. Harper came in, and who, by the way, is hitting 200 in this tournament. You can make an argument that Goldschmidt was an upgrade over Harper. And Clement was the only one that played in place of Burt Bregman and had no hits in the game. Pete Crow Armstrong, they're lucky that he was in the lineup last night. So, it's, to me, has nothing to do with the lineup he put out there. They got beat by Italy flat out. That's what happened in that game last night.
So really quick. So, and I'm not saying that I'm right, you're wrong, or anything, but I'm just trying to figure out where you're coming from. So, so you feel like that what DeRosa said was more of that his attitude, that was more of a public critical element, but it was not a critical element in the locker room.
Wait, say this one more time.
Like his attitude. That was more of a bad look publicly than it was something that impacted the locker room.
Yes. I think it just made him look like an idiot. And then because he
an
says
idiot publicly.
Right. He says this on a television show. By the way, this is where it got really bad for him. He says it on the show, okay? Then the video's out there. Well, then MLB took the video down because they know he looks like an idiot.
Right.
So that makes him look worse.
Really quick, did you see what your boy Jimmy Traynor reported?
No.
So your boy Jimmy Traynor at Sports Illustrated reported earlier today that he found out why MLB took it down.
Okay, I'd like to hear.
Because Traynor explained in his latest Traynor Thoughts article that they took it down to prevent or dissuade any confusion about what was going on. But they put it back up today all of a sudden.
What do you mean? Confusion about what was going on?
Like, what the U.S. had advanced or not. They were worried that people were going to see the video and think the U.S. already advanced.
Gotcha. Well, that's a bad job. I mean.
But then they put the video back up today.
Okay, so the video is back up.
It was back up this afternoon.
Because they were getting hammered for it.
Correct.
Yes.
But it was interesting. A trainer said, hey, I looked into it and I found out there was a literal, it wasn't like, user error. No one came up with some crazy excuse. You know what I mean?
Okay, that's fine, but still. So this is a very, very bizarre story. Because, one, DeRosa's not a manager. He's a former player who is a broadcaster who, listen, we see a lot of guys go from Aaron Boone, went from player to broadcaster to then manager of the New York Yankees. So there is some precedent of this. And many people believe, hey, if you played the game, I trust your opinion more than a guy who didn't play the game. Like, Nick Castellanos, for instance.
Naturally.
So DeRosa, who played the game, and by the way, went to Penn, seemingly a smart guy, right? He's a guy who's been on MLB Network for years and has been a guy who
popular analyst.
And he's a popular analyst. He's breaking down the games. He goes on with his buddies, and I didn't hear the context of the full bite, but that part of the bite is all we really have. And he says, hey, we've already punched our ticket.
Well, the context was Vasgersian was asking him, how they're approaching the game. Basically, hey, you're going into this game against Italy. It's the last game of the qualifying round of the round robin. What is your approach going into this game tonight?
Okay, well, we want to win a game. Some of our guys, we want to get them a chance to play. We want to get some of our guys off their feet. I want to get Goldie a chance. Some of these guys have been, leaders in the locker room, and I want to get them a chance to play. And we've already punched our ticket. But then after that, he kind of rambles on as if, I said this, but, it's not really like we punched our ticket, blah, blah, blah. So he thinks they've punched their ticket. Then they lose the game. After the game, the reporter asked him about the video, and that's when he admits that he misspoke. So when he says he misspoke, Is he acknowledging that he did not know, or is he essentially just saying, like, yeah, I was talking really fast and, I might have said something, but I didn't really mean that? How do you see it?
For me, I look at it as he was told, like you said, afterward, hey, man, you misunderstood information.
After the interview.
After the interview.
Not after the game.
After the interview.
Right.
But I think his attitude, like you said, I agree with you on this, where it was, they still went into the game with this attitude, whatever, we're moving on. It's Italy. Who cares?
That's the attitude. It's, Michael Lorenzen. Look at their lineup. Let me read their lineup for you real quick. Marcy in center field, Birdie at second base. Now, Birdie's a pro.
Good player.
Been around. Pascatino. He's a very good player, by the way, Pascatino. Canzone. Desenzo. Teal, who, by the way, got hurt and is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. He hit the home run in the game. He is a very high prospect. He's a catcher for the White Sox. He gets hurt. He has to leave the game. D'Orazio replaces him. Caglione was the first pick in the draft, if I'm not mistaken, by Kansas City. He's playing right field. Antonacci is the shortstop. He made a hell of a play last night, by the way. And Phillies prospect Dante Nori is the left fielder batting ninth. That is the team you lost against. Now, as we mentioned, they got a couple guys who were major leaguers. They got a couple guys who were prospects. Your team has Witt, Henderson, Judge, Schwarber, Smith, Roman Anthony, Paul Goldschmidt. I mean, I can't imagine the manager going on hot stove yesterday and messing up the rules of the tournament is why you lost that game.
Maybe not, but the reality is that it's just more ammunition in the why is Mark DeRosa managing a team when he's not been managing anything?
It doesn't help now his standing moving forward.
Right.
Or, quite frankly, anybody else's standing. Who else is on that staff? I mean, you got a bunch of guys who were like former, and this is what goes back to. I talk about this all the time. Just because you play the game doesn't mean you know the game. Everybody just takes for granted that you played and therefore then you know. I always find it in my dealings with guys who I have talked to or deal with who are former players. And this isn't like there are plenty of former players who do know the game really well. But that doesn't mean that just because you played that you then know the game.
Now, I will say DeRosa has 2 former MLB managers on his staff.
They are?
Freddie Gonzalez.
Okay.
And David Ross.
David Ross was also a broadcaster who went to the managerial role and didn't do all that well.
No, but at least he does have 2 guys who have been in a dugout.
Yeah, listen, again.
In his ear.
Not absolving any of this. They should have known the rule. Now, I will say I did not know the rule because I'm just not into the WBC. I'm not paying that close of attention. I didn't know.
And frankly, you wouldn't be talking about it today if this didn't happen last night.
Correct. But I also did not know. Now, first of all, I didn't know the WBC has been around for how long? 20 years?
Almost.
I didn't realize this
2006 was the first year. So, 20 years.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it had been going on for 20 years. That's
Nobody
number one.
did.
Number two, because I know it started, then there was a hiatus,
yes,
and then they brought it back. That's number one. Number two, I did not know there was any pitch counts or anything like that. But, again, I'm not really a fan of the WBC. I'm not like hardcore rooting for anybody here. So I wouldn't know that. I'm watching the game last night, and Lorenzen's at 63 pitches, and they're like, well, he gets one more batter because, he can only go to 65. And I'm like, what? Now, I get it. It's early in the season, and maybe they don't want these, the major league teams probably don't want their pitchers.
That's the premise, yes.
Going out there and throwing.
That's why
I'm not against the rule. I just didn't know the rule.
That's why, for example, Scooble only pitched 1 game for Team USA, and the Tigers insisted he come back.
Well, I get all that. I know somebody. Look, if I was running a major league organization, I don't want my guy pitching in this event.
Yeah, and if you're paying him $30 million, you double don't want him.
No, I don't want to pitch in this event. Why? Because he's pitching full tilt in these games, and the reason they're at spring training is because they're ramping up. In this tournament, you're not ramping up; you're throwing.
You could make the argument that Jose Luzardo got his contract extension because he didn't go to the WBC.
So Nolan McLean last night, he's the Met pitcher. He threw 3 innings in the game last night, gave up 2 hits, 3 runs. He had 2 walks. He had 2 homers against a couple pizza makers. I mean, the guy was working at Manco and Manco yesterday, and now he's playing for Italy.
Yeah, he's got Johnny Boom Bats at bat, and he's knocking him around.
This story is absolutely bizarre, though, that the manager went on TV, didn't know the rules, and then they lose to Italy. So it just, the whole element of it makes this thing to me, it makes it look small time.
Yes.
That is the sticks and stones of this one here, is that the fact that the manager didn't know the rules and you got all these quirky rules, I think that is the indictment on this thing, that it kind of makes it look small time, that nobody knew the rules, they didn't know what was going on, and you got this game last night, which, by the way, I'm not the biggest WBC guy. I love baseball, so I'm watching the game. It's not like I didn't watch the game because I don't care who wins. I just can't get into these contrived tournaments. I just don't care. Like, who cares who wins this thing? Like, I don't care why. I don't know how anybody cares who wins.
Do they care? I don't know.
Some of the countries care more than others.
That is true.
Like, I think to, like, Japan and the Dominican Republic, this is like
this is their Olympics.
A huge deal for them. And I'm not sure that it's that way for Team USA, because in the United States, the professional leagues are so huge.
Right, the professional leagues are the aspiration.
And in other countries, they don't have professional leagues that are on the same stratosphere as the professional leagues here. Their best players come here to play, to make it to professional. So it is a different way that it is viewed. It's 80 degrees out. Why is Mike wearing a vest like it's 30 outside? Because it's cold in this studio. He must be watching on YouTube. I always have to wear something in here because he's got a zipper up on over there. It's very cold in the studio.
I keep this hoodie in this studio even during the summer months. How many times you see me with it during the summer, too?
I know. Oh, no, it's freezing in this room. But we like it cold because there are times where if it's not freezing cold, then it's on the opposite side. Listen, there is no middle ground in here. It's either cold or overly hot. We take it cold, so that's why I have to wear it. Like, normally I would take this off, but, like, I can take this off, but it's a little chilly in here.
Like, there was a time.
I like the fact the guys watch it and then text it in.
Yeah. There was a time 8 years ago where it used to get boiling hot in here.
Yeah. We used to have air conditioner wars with the station next to us.
Yeah. And then we kind of settled on a semi-compromise, which has been a tenable compromise for about 6 years now.
So, to wrap up that whole situation.
To wrap up your vest situation.
Aaron Nola will pitch tonight for Italy. And the United States needs Nola to win the game and keep Mexico under 5 runs.
Think about how wild what you just said is. We need Aaron Nola.
See, I'm rooting for, if I'm a United States baseball fan, I want my team to lose so that my players go back to their camps and get back with their teams. That's how I view it.
Fair.
Am I wrong about that? Am I looking at this the wrong? Like, I want Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber and Brad Keller. I want them back with the Phillies.
I don't think you're wrong. Certainly not, because I think that the argument can be made the longer they play in this tournament, the chances of them getting injured.
And listen, I'm looking at that in some capacity, the injury aspect, but I just want the camaraderie of my team back together and building towards the season. Yes. All right. Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. When we come back, the news continues for the Sixers, and I'll explain coming up next on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. Another one bites the dust. Well, Maxi's already out. It can't be him, right? And Embiid's already out. It can't be him, right? And Paul George, he's suspended, so it's not him. Who's the next guy that's missing some time? I have the details next on the Sports Bash. 5:33. I'm Mike Gill. Let me tell you about my friends at the Branches Outreach. The mission is to provide food, clothing, and personal care items and support to individuals and families experiencing homelessness in Cape May County. In the past year, they've welcomed over 10,000 guests into the Outreach Center and served more than 12,000 meals for those in need. They're privately funded through donations from the people like you out there listening today, and your support is needed year-round. They give support. If you give support, they accept donations of food and personal care items during the week from 9 to 1:30 at the Branches Outreach in Rio Grande. You can follow them on Facebook at Branches Outreach or visit them online at branchesoutreach.org for more information. All right, I'm Mike Hill. This is the Sports Bash. The hits keep on coming for the Sixers. According to the Sixers, Kelly Oubre Jr. suffered a sprain of the LCL in his left elbow. He will be out for 2 weeks at least, and he will be reevaluated. He is out for the game tomorrow night against the Pistons. That means no Oubre, no Maxey, no Embiid, no George. It was good to see Edgecombe back last night, and somehow the Sixers won that game, and they fought hard. They were down 14. They came back, won the game, but the hits just keep on coming for the Sixers. Kelly Oubre Jr., a sprained lateral ligament in his elbow, and he will be out for approximately 2 weeks. But at this stage, one's got to wonder, number one, how this team will be able to make it through for the next 3 weeks without Maxey, 2 weeks without Oubre, another 3 weeks, right, without George, or another about 2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks without George, yeah. He's eligible to return, I believe it's March 25th or 26th.
And no Embiid for who knows when. Now, they'll play the Pistons tomorrow night. They're going to get waxed in that game.
I mean, the way things are going right now, Embiid might be back before Oubre and Maxey are.
Oh, I would imagine so. If Embiid is not back before those guys, that would be a disappointment. But you're talking about today is what, the 11th?
Yeah.
So 2 weeks to the day is actually George. Today's the 11th, next Wednesday the 18th, and then the next Wednesday the 25th.
Gotcha. So 2 weeks for George.
Right. So 2 more weeks for George, 3 more weeks for Maxey, at least 2 more for Oubre, and who knows about Embiid. But real quick, I'll tell you right now, Detroit, they're not winning that game.
That's a good joke.
Brooklyn is a team that is tanking.
Mm-hmm.
Can they win that game?
I mean, maybe.
I'll give them that game. I'll give you that
You'll
game.
give them that game.
Well, yeah, I mean, the team's tanking. The tanking teams, I'll give you.
Okay.
Because they don't want to win.
That's very true.
Portland right now is a playoff team out west. They are a play-in team, I should say. They are 7 games up on Memphis.
Yeah, they're hanging around.
So I would say you're not beating them. The Knicks you're not beating. The Hawks you're not beating. New Orleans is a tanking team, although New Orleans has waxed you twice.
That's true.
But I'll give you that one. Minnesota, hold on a second. Hold on, I'm reading the wrong schedule. Here it is. Okay, Detroit, you're not winning. Brooklyn, I'll give you that. Portland, probably not. Denver, no way. Sacramento's tanking, I'll give you that one. Utah's tanking, I'll give you that one. Oklahoma City, you're not winning. Chicago is in kind of tank mode, so I'll give you that one. Charlotte, you're not winning. Miami, you're not winning. Washington's in tank mode. I'll give you that one. That's April 1st.
That's 5 wins.
So between now and the 25th, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games is on the 25th. So in those 8 games, you play Brooklyn, Portland's a meh.
I'm not counting them.
Sacramento, Utah, Oklahoma City, Chicago.
So 3.
I mean, Brooklyn, Sacramento, Utah, Chicago. That's 4 teams that are tanking. Can you go 4-4? And then on the 25th, let's say you have Embiid and George and Oubre back for Charlotte, Miami, Minnesota, Washington, Detroit. Charlotte, Miami, Washington, Minnesota, Detroit, San Antonio, Houston, Indiana, Milwaukee. That's a brutal way to end the season.
But you could win half those games. If everyone's back.
If everybody's back. But I'm saying between now and the 25th, when you are out with all those guys, can you go 4-4? You have 4 teams that are tanking.
Well, listen, the answer is could they? Yes. Will they? It's a different story because there's been many games this year where it looked like they should win the game, even when they had the power, the horsepower out there, and they didn't finish the game. Or Nick Nurse benches Trendon Waffer when he's 4 for 4 with a double-double on hand. Or there's some weird thing that happens that leads the team to, finding a way to lose. So could they? Yes. Will they? Call me of little faith.
Well, I agree, and that's what I'm saying. You have 4 teams in the next 8 that are tanking. Those teams are handing you 4 wins. Will you take them? Like last night, you're playing Memphis. That's a team that's tanking.
Is this bag of money too heavy?
Correct. Last night, you're playing a Memphis team that's tanking. Memphis is up 14, and they magically decided, you know what, we really don't want to win this game. And guess what? They didn't. So you get a win last night, which you desperately needed, and that keeps you in the 8 spot right now. But I think we're at the point with this team, with all the problems, are we not at the point that if Philadelphia is in the play-in, would you prefer, this is what I would ask you, because I think it was Kevin O'Connor, right? That's your guy. You listen to his podcast, right?
Sometimes, when he,
he
when it
says
comes up.
prediction.
Yes.
In 3 weeks from now, when Maxey is back, the Sixers will be the 10 seed. Maxey and Embiid will be shut down for the remainder of the season. The Sixers will lose in the play-in, and then they receive the 11th best odds. They say a prayer on lottery night. They would get a 9.4% chance, I believe, right? What are the odds for the 11th seed?
I'll pull it up.
So now you are going down the road of, listen, we're going to be in the play-in tournament. It looks like that's pretty obvious at this point. Do we just get in the play-in? You lose in the play-in tournament, and now you get a lottery pick. And this is a loaded draft class. Now, the problem with that is your draft pick goes to Oklahoma City unless
it's top 4
it's
protected.
top 4 protected. Let's say they get into the lottery and end up with the 5th pick. That pick goes to Oklahoma City. Does
Right.
Oklahoma City need the 5th pick in the draft?
No. By the way, so what was the number you're looking for again?
What percentage do you have for the number 1 overall pick if you are a play-in team?
Well, so it doesn't go by play, and it goes by your record you finished with. So
They would have the 11th best odds. If you lose the play-in,
2%.
it's 2%?
The
What
team-
odds did
Team 11 has 2%.
Okay, what odds did Dallas have last year when they got the number 1 seed? Because they played in the play-in tournament last year.
Yeah.
They lost and ended up with the number 1 overall pick. That's where many people are saying, let's say the Sixers right now, they're the 7, they're the 8. They would play Orlando.
Dallas had a 1.8% chance.
A 1.8% chance, and they end up getting the number 1
Yeah,
overall.
Dallas was actually team 12
Okay.
last year.
And Team 11 was who?
I don't have that in front of me. I got to check that.
All right. No, it doesn't matter. But Dallas was the
Team
12.
11 is what the Sixers would be, though,
right
under
now.
this scenario.
Right now. If they're basically saying if Philadelphia was the 10th seed in the East, played in the play-in tournament, and then lost, that they would then become the 11th seed, the 11th overall odds for the lottery. Right now, here's your scenario. You're the 8. Now, you're only a game ahead of Atlanta for the 9, and you're 2.5 up on Charlotte for the 10. You're 8 games up on Milwaukee for the 11, so I don't think you're going to drop out. So you're probably going to be in the play-in tournament, okay? Right now, you would play Orlando. If you win that game, you become the 7th seed, and you play Boston. If you lose that game, okay, you would play the winner of the Atlanta-Charlotte game. The winner of that would then be the 8th seed, and
Right.
you would play Detroit. So, would you rather play Boston, Detroit, or have a shot at the lottery?
I mean,
Now, keep in mind,
I feel like this is like you asking me would I rather have a Honda Civic, a Nissan Sentra, or a Mazda 3.
these are all fine cars. I have no problem with any of these.
But they're all
options.
basically the same. That's my point.
No, I think this is different, and here's why.
Okay.
Remember, if you do not get a pick in the top 4, that pick goes to Oklahoma City. So you either try to get into the playoffs and play Boston or Detroit, or you lose in the play-in and hope that you get a top 4 pick. Now, remember, you do have the Houston pick now because of the Jared McCain trade.
Right.
Now, people would say, well, you traded Jared McCain to Oklahoma City, but Oklahoma City gave you
The Houston
the
pick.
Houston pick. Now, he needed to go Kevin Costner and say, I want my pick back. But he didn't do that.
He didn't do
Daryl
that.
Morey.
He doesn't have Kevin Costner's stones.
No. So that's your scenarios right now. What do you choose?
Where does Kevin Costner rank among ballsiest sports characters? He's played a lot of them.
Yeah, he has played a lot of sports characters. He was Bull Durham. He was in the draft day. What else?
He
Field
was
of
in for the love of the
Dreams.
game.
There you go. Yep. But there's your scenarios. You're either you either are the 7th seed or the 8th seed. You could play Boston or Detroit in the first round, or you get knocked out of the play-in and you go into the lottery and hope that you get a top 4 pick. What do you do?
I can't depend on the odds falling in my favor again. Like I feel like what's the saying? Lightning doesn't strike twice. Like, can you?
So
really
you just rather see a playoff series get blasted by the Pistons or the Celtics and then see what happens in the draft?
Yeah, because I feel like it's better to just get the season over with.
But the season would be over with if you played in the play-in and lost.
True.
You're extending the season by going into the playoffs.
Right, I'm extending the misery.
Yeah.
All right, maybe I would rather you be knocked out in the play-in tournament. Let's really get embarrassed.
Then you would have a what % chance?
You would have. Give me 1 sec here. 1.5%.
1.5%.
Mavs
chance.
won the odds with 1.8 last year. It is actually the 4th lowest odds anyone's ever won the lottery with. Orlando Magic got Shaquille O'Neal with 1.52%. The Cavs got some guy named Kyrie Irving. You might have heard of him with 1.7%. And then Chicago Bulls got Derrick Rose with 1.7%.
Okay. So it's possible.
So it's not impossible. We're not saying it can't happen.
No, I mean, listen, it's a ping pong ball and it just starts flying around, and if it happens to shoot up to the top,
This is like Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance.
there is a chance. All right, couple things. Ray in Egg Harbor City on the White Horse RV text board says, I'd rather play the Pistons, although the Pistons are the number 1 seed. As of now, they show weaknesses. They're young. They've been there. They haven't been there, so I would obviously rather play the Pistons. I don't necessarily want to go for a draft or lottery pick. Yeah, I mean, the Pistons did play in the playoffs last year and gave, who was it? The Knicks? Gave them everything they could handle.
Yep.
So I would also agree with Ray on one thing with the Pistons. They don't have a great group of offensive players. So come playoff time, who's the other guy other than Cunningham? That's all. But listen, if I could get the 4th pick in the draft, the 3rd pick in the draft, those guys are game changers. I would take them. That might be your best route, and I can't believe we're talking about that on March 11th after the way this season was fun. It got off to a good start. It looked like it was, and now with all these injuries, it is unbelievable. All right, Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN getting ready to get out of here. We got one segment left. Stick around for that. An update Holy mackerel, there's been so much going on today. An update on NFL free agency. We'll get that to you coming up next. All right, 5:53. We're getting ready to get out of here. A recap on the day in free agency. The Eagles yesterday, when we got off the air, they signed Rick Woolen from the Seattle Seahawks. That's the only signing I've seen today for Philadelphia. Has anything happened in the last 5 to 10 minutes or so?
Yes, something has just happened. According to the Zach Berman and Mike Garafolo, Dallas Goedert is not listed as a free agent by the NFL. His void day has been pushed back to Friday, league sources tell The Athletic and the NFL Network. This procedural move will give both the Eagles and Goddard's team a chance to work out a contract extension by Friday.
Okay,
That
so there's
just
a
came
possibility that Goddard could be back.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I said earlier they brought back Calcaterra because I think they think Calcaterra is a good pass catcher. They signed Munt last night because he's a blocking tight end, something that Calcaterra is not.
Definitely not.
So they feel like if we can't bring back Goddard, we know Calcaterra, we think he can do the job, and we'll draft a guy, and Calcaterra and that guy can be the pass catchers, and this guy, Johnny Munt, will be the run blocker. So we'll see if they can get a deal with Dallas Goedert. I would be pretty surprised if that ended up happening here, but we shall see. All right, Flyers and Capitals tonight. That game will be on our sister station, Rock 104.1, the Big Ten tournament tonight right here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll talk to you tomorrow, everybody. But not before. Caller 7 right now, 609-573-3776. Caller number 7. I need you right now. You have a shot to win tickets to go see the Phillies play the Orioles in Baltimore at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. How do you win? Well, first, you need to be caller 7 right now to enter. 609-573-3776. Then you must be present at the Anchorage and Summers Point, 823 Bay Avenue, for our Phillies opening day watch party. We're going to be at the Anchorage Phillies game, watching the Phils, where one lucky winner will be selected at random. Pair of lower-level seats, bus trip to and from Philly to Baltimore. Good luck.